Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4Player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. The show, everybody. This is episode 592 of 4Player Podcast. My name is Nick Henderson. I'm joined this evening by Brad Simons.
Hello.
And Christopher Davis.
Good evening.
That's it. Nobody else is here. Crispy is out this week. Nolan is out. We broke into his home and we're using his podcasting room. And he won't be here next week either, I don't think. But Crispy will be, so don't worry. We'll be back to having 4 people on the couch next week. But you know what? We have 3 people this week. Perhaps the show will be cohesive. Perhaps it will be efficient.
Perhaps it will finish before midnight.
Perhaps we'll finish before midnight. I hope so, because I actually have to wait for you to finish your stuff before I leave tonight, because I have to lock up the house when we leave.
Yeah.
So we're going to try our damnedest to get through this at a decent pace. But you know what? We still have a lot to talk about tonight. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Brad's here for the first time, this is like the first time you've had a chance to like really talk about some of the stuff you've been playing, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Slay the Spire.
Luckily, I've been playing the same fucking thing over and over again.
Wait, is Slay... Okay, you know, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Anyways.
We're going to talk about fucking Pokemon.
We're going to talk about Pokemon, the Pokemon news in the second segment. And of course, I would like to remind everybody that's watching us live in chat at twitch.tv/4playerpodcast or 4pp.tv that you can join us in Discord. We have a community Discord that we would love you to be a part of. You can find us at discord.gg/4player, and if you do join for the first time, please remember to pop into the introductions channel and introduce yourself so we can all say hello.
Yeah.
It's a great place to be. We'd appreciate if you joined in there. You can also support us on Patreon. We're going to hear from some of our patrons in the second segment, or in the questions segment. If you're interested in supporting us for as little as $1 a month, you can find us at patreon.com/4player. It helps us keep the lights on.
Quite literally.
Except it didn't help us much last week, but...
Yeah, Patreon. That's very important. But Discord, I'm in there like fucking every day. So is Nick. So is Chris Davis. I don't know about these other guys.
Well, you're in the gaming channel. You're not much else.
I don't know if you noticed that we're a gaming website, a gaming podcast. This is a gaming community. Excuse me for hanging out in the gaming channel because I don't want to talk about my fucking
nerd
lunch
shit
like you do in general.
We should have a lunch
my
channel.
Fucking
general, we talk about generally anything.
You talk about food and fucking memes.
It is a crime when I go into the general channel and people post gaming stuff and they're like, "What are you doing?" Nobody comes
because
in
those
here.
assholes, general has become their own community and they think they're too good to go to gaming. Anyways, if you like community drama, join our Discord. Plenty of that.
We should make a community drama channel so people can just go in there and intentionally have.
That's just called Discord.
Oh, well. Fair enough. Anyways, it's a fun place to be, no matter how you look at it. Discord.gg/4player is where it's at. Check us out there. And like I said, we would love your support at Patreon, patreon.com/4player. But without further ado, I want to read some feedback. There's not a lot of it this week, so I'm going to take this opportunity to reiterate to you that if you have an opinion on anything that we talk about tonight, if something Brad says just happens to just like really get you, and you're like, that's not true.
I will be pissing people off today for sure.
Please let us know in the
Life
comments.
finds a way.
Let us leave us a comment at 4playernetwork.com on the post for this episode, and we'll read it at the beginning of next week. It's the easiest way. You don't have to be a paid supporter. You can have your voice be heard on the show every week if you just chime in on 4playernetwork.com. But with that said, I want to read the one comment we have from last week, and it's gonna be a quick one. It's from the Metal Button. The Metal Button says, with the power going out, because that did happen last week, it's exactly like your Patreon announcement skit from February of 2015. According to that skit, in 5 years you will be on the streets. I look forward to your impressions of Pokemon on Game Boy in 2020 as hobos. That is true. We did make that skit. Y'all should go back. We spent a lot of time and effort on that video. You should go back and watch that shit.
Yeah.
It may not be totally applicable now as far as our Patreon goes, but you should still check it out because it was a fun video.
Like 3/4 of that video was shot at Brad's old house, and we got away with some shit we probably shouldn't have when filming that.
we did people, yeah.
Carlos Buck. Someone linked that video. That's a good video.
Carlos Bucks. I forgot about that. That's a good video. Y'all should check that out. Someone link that in chat. And then support us on Patreon. He closes out his comment by saying, with all the technical difficulties last week, you still managed to pump out a great podcast. Thank you. We really do appreciate that. He also says, is the cereal soup, quote unquote, question. Oh, he said, sorry, let me rephrase. He says, also, the is cereal soup question needs to be asked while Crispy is on the couch.
Wait. I want to chime in because I listened to last week's podcast.
Oh, yeah, you weren't here.
Nick's right. If cereal can be called cereal without milk,
Somebody
it's
record
not
that.
a soup. It's not a soup. That's like calling vegetable soup when it's just fucking vegetables.
Whoa. Are you saying vegetable soup is not soup?
No, it is, but I'm saying you wouldn't call it soup when it's just fucking vegetables.
You're right!
Exactly.
Thank you for articulating that way better than I did. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. It's bullshit. But he does say he would like to hear Crispy's take on it, so maybe next week.
But
We'll
when
ask
I'm
him.
stewing in a bathtub, that is most certainly Brad soup.
Oh. You had to give us the name of the show so early, Brad?
Brad stew.
No, Brad Soup.
You know,
Brad Soup.
when
He said he was stewing.
when I was younger, I think it was my older brother who would say, when he saw a person of the opposite sex that he was attracted to, he would say, I drink her bath water.
I'm pretty sure. I feel like I've heard that before. That's
Well, I don't think he invented it, but it is something that he said. And I've always thought that was still kind of gross.
Yeah, it's like if you ever stop to actually think about the logistics of what he's saying for a second, like take it a little literally, you're kind of like,
That's gross.
that's maybe not.
Yeah.
That's gross, but that's pretty good. Anyways, let's get to it. That's all the comments we had this week. Like I said, there weren't many. So if you want to chime in, if you have any opinions on anything we talk about tonight, please leave us a comment at 4playernetwork.com. We'll read it at the beginning of the next show and we'll react to it. I'm going to regret saying all this because now we're probably going to have like 20 comments next week and it's going to take us an hour to get through them. But we appreciate your involvement at any level. So let's talk about video games.
What?
Wait, are you laughing at Gamerbeck's question?
No, I'm laughing at what Krita said. I don't think she meant to say that.
Oh, no. Oh.
Oh, no.
Critta, no.
That's gross. The people who are listening to this audio podcast will never know what we're talking about.
Visual medium.
Brad,
Yes.
hit us up with some sweet games
Video games.
that we apparently have footage for that we hope to God is not going to break.
Okay.
Fucking not.
So, what would you like me to talk about first?
Slay the Spire.
Okay, so I've been playing a lot of Slay the Spire, and I don't want to hear anything from any of these fuckers who are like, that's old news. Because I don't know if you know this, but Slay the Spire was kind of an indie darling last year. When it first launched in early access, it blew up like really big. It was really popular on Twitch. I had a friend at work who kind of follows what's popular on Twitch, funny enough.
So not us?
Yeah. And he's like, yo, Brad, you've been playing Slay the Spire? And I'm like, you know about Slay the Spire? He's like, yeah, it's all everybody's playing on Twitch. And I'm like, damn. And I was like, yeah, that game does look cool. But of course, I'm going to wait for, it coming out of early access, which I did. And it finally came out of early access at the end of January. I just haven't been on a normal podcast in a while, so I haven't been able to talk about it. But I've been playing a lot of Slay the Spire. Right now, my Steam says 39 hours.
Damn.
I'd say some of that's idling, but I have been playing a lot of Slay the Spire. Now, Slay the Spire, it is a roguelike, but I don't want that to turn anyone off because
It's too late.
it can almost be. It's not a roguelike in. Let me explain what it is. This is a deck building game where you kind of go up a tower, and as you go, you start off with you pick a class. There's 3 character classes, and you start off in each of those character classes has a different deck, to start, and they have a different pool of cards as they go up the spire, the tower, towards the final boss of the game. The reason they have different cards is because they're different classes. You could play the Ironclad, who's like a fighter, or the Silent, who's like a rogue, right? So when you're the Silent, you're getting like poison cards, you're getting like dagger attacks and stuff. So the potential cards you get every time you win a combat, you get to pick between like one of 3 cards, right? Each of those cards are like specific to the character class. The third class is a robot, which is what you're seeing now. And one of the cool parts about Slay the Spire is all of the classes play very differently. Obviously, they would, because they have very different decks. They have very different deck potentials. The robot, for example, is all about channeling these elemental orbs, and these elemental orbs have these like passive abilities that some give you block, some
and
give
the orbs are those the
things floating above you.
So
yeah.
the other classes won't have those.
No, not at all, because they play like way differently. They don't even, and again, their cards are different. Like if I have a lightning orb floating above my robot, after each turn, it's automatically gonna like do a lightning bolt. While if I have an ice orb, it's automatically gonna generate some block. Like passively, so it plays very differently than the other classes.
So is there like a power requirement to play a card, or you can't?
Yes,
play
think
willy-nilly?
it is a card game. So think like Magic the Gathering or something where you have.
I was thinking more like Hearthstone or Dawn.
Sure. I mean, yeah, they're all the same. You have like a mana pool to play a certain amount of cards per turn. You're doing some attacks. You're doing playing some defensive cards to block incoming damage. And it is a surprisingly deep game, because there are so many cards, which can lead to so many different like builds as you go, and you kind of don't really know what you're going to get. Obviously, you're picking between cards after battle. You come across shops where you're making choices of like, do I want to buy this card? The other thing is relics, which are like they're not cards. They're sort of like when you obtain them, whether you kill like an elite monster or a boss, or you buy them from a shop. They're like these permanent upgrades that can dramatically change the way your cards work. Like for example, you might get you might have a deck that has a bunch of low cost cards, right? So without a lot of mana or energy, you could play like a bunch of cards, but you might have a relic that gives you bonuses based on how many cards you've played in a turn. So all of a sudden, you might get a certain relic, you might start choosing cards to kind of synergize with that relic, therefore making like a build, and like the rogue has this thing that people call like a shiv deck, which is all about playing these really like free daggers, these zero cost daggers over and over. They don't do a ton of damage, but if you have the right cards to like buff that, if you have the right relics to buff that, all of a sudden, these low cost daggers that you throw out every turn become like dramatically more powerful, and you start succeeding. The reason I think Slay the Spire is really addictive and easy to get into is because while you have the complexity of any good card based game, be it a 1 versus 1 like multiplayer one like Magic the Gathering, or just like a roguelike. Honestly, you can make some sort of comparisons to like FTL, right? Where the way you build
another comparison to a game that
still
yet to play.
A lot of people played FTL.
I know.
The way you build your deck is kind of the way you like outfit your ship in FTL, right? Where you come across shops, you might get stuff after battle, and after you've done enough battles and enough shops and whatnot, and enough of these random events, you start to get an idea of like, all right, I'm going to focus on, say, like having a crew that like boards the enemy ship and kind of takes out their oxygen and suffocates them or whatever, right? And oh shit,
I'll get it.
Yeah. And it works kind of like that, where it's all about beating the bosses and ultimately beating the final boss, and much like FTL. So you're not just trying to build a deck to kind of get you through the battles that you're currently fighting, but you're trying to plan ahead to make sure you have a deck that is going to work by the time you get to Act 3 and when things get a lot harder, when you're fighting bosses and stuff. So, but like I was saying, the reason I think it's like very accessible and I recommend it to anyone is because the information for battle, move the mouse over to that screen maybe. No, well, I think we're fine. Oh, but you got to see Audacity.
Well, Audacity's probably open in the bottom bar, right? Taskbar?
Okay. Well, the reason I think it's very accessible and it's cool is because in combat, things are very clear. You always see, think of Into the Breach. You always see what the enemy is about to do, down to how much damage they're going to deal. Right.
Okay.
So like next turn, so you could see it. Look over that enemy's head. You see, it says 7 times 3. That's how much damage they're going to deal.
21
next turn, right?
I know, man.
So the hand you have isn't just about like dealing damage, but it's about mitigating the incoming damage, which you can see. So like, well, this attack's going to kill me next turn.
Kind of like Into the Breach.
So it's more about not just winning the battle. It's not just about winning the battle, but it's about handling what's about to come at you just on the next turn. But you still got to kind of have a plan or a strategy to get through that whole battle, because if you just focus on what's going to happen next turn, you might not be able to like pull together like a game plan to actually beat the enemy.
Is there a variety?
But that like Into the Breach, having all that information kind of makes it way more tactical than you would actually think, but still not as frustrating, because there's not a lot of surprises. It's what you see is what you're going to get. You just got to figure it out.
So the cards that you earn in combat, are they permanent for your deck, or?
Well, like, no, you have a deck, you have draws, eventually you're going to cycle through that deck. So knowing, what's in that deck, you can obviously, you get an idea of how things are going to play out, even though your cards pop up randomly. And it's the kind of thing where, well, this card fits in my deck, this card doesn't, so I'm not going to take it. But kind of making sure your deck doesn't get all bloated too, because you don't want... The more cards you have that do a bunch of random shit, the harder it is for you to have any sort of like game plan or focus with your deck. So you kind of want to get the cards that'll make something really work, but then kind of keep it slim. Like one of the big things you do in shops is you could pay to have them remove a card from your deck. And the reason is because you want them to remove like some of the basic cards that might work early on in the game, but aren't going to be so useful later on in the game when you're drawing cards that aren't that effective anymore.
So what happens if you're in a battle and you run out of cards?
Well, you can't, because
it just reshuffles in
battle.
battle.
Yeah, it reshuffles.
Okay.
Which is why you want to kind of keep your deck slim.
Because a lot of the foundation for what I'm watching here is watching from Hearthstone, how like you take turns in combat, you got a certain mana count you can use to activate cards. But in Hearthstone, for example, when you run out of cards, the game starts punishing you and hurting you until eventually there's a winner.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, it's like that in a lot of card games.
Is that map that you keep going to? Is that showing the tower essentially that you're? Yeah.
Okay. So as you're going up the tower, you have all these different nodes. They could be regular battles. They could be elite battles, which are kind of like mid-boss monsters that can drop relics. There's campfires, which you can choose to rest, or you can choose to upgrade a card. Right?
Yeah.
In upgrading the card, each card has one upgrade, which can like say reduce its mana cost or boost its damage. Generally, upgrades for most cards are like super valuable, but you have to make that choice. Am I going to upgrade a card, or am I going to rest and get some of my hit points back? And it's kind of making those tough decisions are what makes Slay the Spire kind of exciting. There's also the random events, which are done really well in this game. There's like some real crazy surprises that can dramatically change the way you play the game from these random events. They're actually far, I think, like way better done than something like FTL, where the random events are kind of like okay.
Yeah.
Here, I feel like they're really inspired.
So I have a question, and this may not be, in the grand scheme of things, probably not super important, because the gameplay does look like there's a lot of variety to it, especially in terms of like cards and enemies and
a lot of
classes
a lot of good enemy variety, a lot of really fiendishly clever boss ideas and stuff.
Yeah, and that all looks legit. I've seen like 3 or 4 battles play out on screen here during the time we've been talking about it. Does the background ever change? Not super important.
Yeah,
it probably does, as you said.
There's you go through different acts.
Yeah,
and each act has like a boss on the top. And when I go back to that node screen, you're only seeing like Act 1.
Oh, okay.
When you go to Act 2, it's a different location.
Gotcha.
And different event rooms or boss rooms, they'll look different too. But honestly, I'm not really paying attention to the background.
No, I know it's not super important. But one thing, like, it's for someone like me who's never gotten super into a card game. Like the last time I was super into a card game, and this is not even really the same thing, was Triple Triad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't play a lot of card games, but like something like Witcher 3 Thronebreaker, Witcher Tales Thronebreaker looks really cool to me, because there's a lot of variety in like the background and how they present the battles to you. I've seen
I
variety
do recommend this to you, Nick, because
would you rather me play
because like I
this
said, it's
or
very
which-
accessible. It starts off very simple, and like I said, you always see what's your incoming damage. So you can kind of
serious
plan for the
question,
next
though.
turn.
Serious question though, if I had to pick one of these between this and Witcher Tales Thronebreaker, which one would you recommend?
Well, as
someone like
far as like card mechanics, this is like way more accessible and honestly probably better than it is in Thronebreaker. Thronebreaker, I recommend just for like, like the story.
The thing
and
is,
the
like, I feel like the
characters.
story is probably like
Those are like those are completely different games.
yeah, but someone like me,
like a roguelike like this is going to have that story depth that you're probably
yeah,
gonna want.
I'm not a huge fan of card games, so like something with a good story that propels me through that stuff
I mean,
makes more sense to me. But
the story doesn't just propel you through in Thronebreaker; it is the reason you play it. Here, there's not even a story.
okay,
But I will say, like there's cool like looking in. There's like really cool enemies and stuff. Like, there's some like story in the events and stuff. But it's all, procedurally generated.
yeah.
Can you get like super powered temporary cards?
Yeah. There's cards that that have the status called exhaust, which means as soon as you play it, it doesn't get shuffled back into your deck. It goes into your exhaust pile because
Okay.
they're typically more powerful.
Yeah.
But then they're like gone for the combat.
Well, I'm talking about like a card that you get that once you've used it in combat
Gone
once,
forever.
it's gone, it's deleted.
Well, no, they don't really have that as far as cards, but they do have like potions, and potions are sort of like one-time use.
Okay.
Once you use them, they're gone, but choosing when to use them like strategically can like save your ass in like a really tough battle.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super fun. I've been like way addicted to it. I've played nearly 40 hours of it, and I haven't even had it that long. Yeah, I've been kind of
You haven't
honestly
had it for 40
obsessed
hours
with
yet?
it. I've been watching like YouTubers like play it and like talk about this game. That's how like into it I've been. I've even been playing on my cell phone because while this is only on PC right now, I've been using Steam Link to play the game. like when I'm like downstairs sitting on the couch like watching TV or something, I'm playing this on my cell phone, which by the way, this game is perfect for mobile or the Switch. It really, really needs to come to something else besides PC, and I'm most certainly sure that's gonna eventually happen, but I couldn't fucking wait. I've been using Steam Link to play on my phone, and it's honestly been I've been staying up way past my bedtime playing this in bed, and it's actually kind of bad.
These days, I think it's safe to assume it's going to come to Switch at some point.
Yeah. Who's the developer behind this?
They're called I don't think they've made anything else from what I understand.
Okay.
They're called I can't.
And Deputy Dangle says there is a Switch port currently planned.
Yeah,
Of course.
most certainly. I mean, this thing was huge on Steam last year. I mean, they made a ton of money already.
Mega Crit
Crit Games, yeah, they've already made
Gotcha.
a ton of money. But yeah,
Cool.
cool.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and just roll on into your next game since you didn't get
Sure.
a chance to talk
The
about it
other
last
thing,
week.
I actually wanted to talk about this 2 weeks ago, but alas, I haven't really had the chance. But I do now.
And
played
it's too late
the
for all of you.
yeah, it is too late. I've been playing the Witcher DLC for Monster Hunter World. You've heard of Monster Hunter World.
Yes.
It was my game of the year last year.
Spoilers.
Spoiler God.
If you,
You
want to
should
know
go-
why, go watch my top 10 video.
Which, by the way, are out. Everybody who has not yet watched our top 10 videos from 2018, they're out there in the wild. We'd love to have you watch them. Let us
And
know
if
what
you
you
haven't,
think.
why haven't you?
Do you know why my top 10 video is so dope? Because I don't
The trick question?
yeah. It's because I don't prepare like beforehand really. I just start talking. And I
Stream of
had
consciousness is what they call it.
I had it as my number one, but I wasn't sure that it really was my number one game until I started talking about it. But once I started talking about it, I'm like, of course it's my number one game. So check out what you're watching here. I am skipping through the dialogue because I had played this mission before. I was just recording footage. What you're seeing here is a conversation between Geralt of Rivea and an NPC. This is something that, and with dialogue choices, which I think you're about to see some dialogue choices, including white choices and yellow choices. White choices, which continue the conversation, yellow choices, which are the main path of the conversation, which, by the way, is exactly how it is in Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Everything you're seeing here, from the camera angles, the back and forth, the dialogue trees, just having a conversation with the NPC, doesn't exist in Monster Hunter World. All of this, what you're seeing here,
is from The Witcher.
was made just for this DLC.
Interesting.
Because they want to make it like The Witcher. So you see how I'm choosing choices?
Yeah.
And you see, like, once I finish talking to him, my quest is going to update. There's side quests. There's the main quest. All of that UI that pops up is original and made just for this DLC.
So my question, you'll probably get to this, but
Yes.
like, why was this only a limited time thing? Why is this not something that anyone
Okay,
can
well,
download at
it's
any
just
time?
the nature of Monster Hunter events. You see how quest updated and stuff, and look at the top right.
Oh my
you
God.
see,
The way he's running around.
yeah,
it's
just
oh my God.
like the fucking Witcher, dude. And once you come across Monster, there's like dope cutscenes and stuff, and there's even like Witcher senses.
What?
Yeah, it's all set up like a fucking Witcher game, which is great because The Witcher is the perfect. This Monster Hunter is the perfect like fit
For a crossover.
Yeah.
a crossover, because you're basically a Witcher in the Monster Hunter universe. Like, because Monster Hunter is all about preparation. It's all about studying the monsters, learning how the monsters work, and preparing for a fight, going into that fight ready, and just mastering how to kill a monster, which is exactly what Geralt of Rivea does. And it's perfect. It's the perfect fit, and the execution is great. You know what? Combat has never been great in
The fuck is that? Is that
in the
eating a
Witcher
pig?
games. No. This is another monster who it's sort of a side quest
Oh, it's
as
his tongue.
a part of this story quest. You can free this monster, and he'll join you in the fight of the monster you're actually trying to fight for the DLC, which is a Leshen, which is a monster from the Witcher universe, like the the antlered monster.
Yeah,
that,
the thing from the first demo they ever
exactly.
showed us, I think.
That's the
Witcher 3.
unique monster they made for this DLC, and it is a completely new monster for you to hunt. The only bummer is when you're first doing this DLC, you have to play through this story stuff each time you want to fight them. So if you die, you have to do this like kind of, you have to.
Long thing over again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not super long, but no other monster fight is really like that. But I think eventually you can unlock that fight just with like a normal hunter, like not playing as Geralt of Rivea. But I didn't do that. I just did the story quest.
So is this event entirely single player, or can you do it co-op?
I have no idea, actually. I only play Monster Hunter single player. But I will say, another thing that you don't get in Monster Hunter is when you're playing as Geralt of Rivea, he's constantly talking about things. He's constantly talking as you're running around, commenting on stuff in the environment, commenting on the story. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. It's Geralt. And it's great. Not just that, but the writing in Monster Hunter World proper is fucking shit. I mean, it's nothing. The story kind of sucks and the writing's not great. But here, I'm pretty sure they got Witcher writers, because even though there's not like a ton of story, it's like very well done, and it feels very Witcher-esque. And it makes me think that they probably got actual writers from CD Projekt Red to pin up the dialogue for this story quest, which is fucking cool. So like here, you're seeing. Man, I want to get to the Leshen fight, which is coming up briefly.
Should I click around?
Well,
on the footage?
talk about it.
I don't think you. Though it's okay. There's more to talk about.
So how does Geralt of Rivea end up in Monster Hunter World?
Well, through a fucking portal, which hey.
So then I have to ask the question: is Ciri in the game?
Ciri. Okay, so you can actually, if you do like the Hunter Rank 50 version of the Leshen fight, you can actually unlock Ciri armor.
What?
Which is the Ciri outfit, the Ciri costume, and which includes a skin for the dual blade weapon set.
Yeah.
So Geralt of Rivea, he uses his Witcher swords, but it is basically the sword and shield weapon set, which I'm trying to use here, but I've never actually touched the sword and shield when I played Monster Hunter World. And because Monster Hunter World, the weapons are so deep and they're all so different, it's like playing different games using a different weapon in Monster Hunter. Like, I kind of not having much luck with the sword and shield. because I'm a lance user, which is so not Geralt of Rivea. He would never use a lance and shield because it's very like tanky. It's very slow paced, so it's a little weird. But that was kind of the only way I can actually beat the Leshen because I never use this weapon. But I'm kind of using it for this footage because it looks cool to see him kind of do his stuff. You know, he actually does have Igni, the fire spell, which is crazy because they just invented a spell that has a cooldown that you can use over and over again just for this DLC. There's nothing like that in Monster Hunter.
This is kind of crazy. Like,
it is kind of fucking crazy. I think I'm about to spawn the Leshen here, which is kind of cool. There's like a cool little intro cutscene.
Yep, this definitely looks like a Witcher 3 cutscene.
So what was I saying? Oh, so Igni, which is very important in the actual fight. You kind of use Igni to like stun the monster and stuff, which is really cool. It's a really good fight and it's really challenging. And when I finally did beat it, I was down to like only 3 minutes left because every Monster Hunter mission you have like a time limit.
Yeah.
Typically a 50-minute time limit. And I was down to like the last few minutes before I finally beat him, and it was like super close. I was like nearly out of health potions. It was like really intense. So they did a really good job with the monster, and it just, you know, it's a good fit for this universe. And like the attacks are like so cool. In fact, not only is the combat obviously better in Monster Hunter World than it is in any Witcher game, but like no fight versus a monster in the Witcher games was like this interactive and intense. You know, I was fighting this thing for 40 minutes. Like it was a crazy fight. And he'll summon Jagresses and stuff, which are those lizards I fought later, like in the middle of the fight. And it is like super tough and challenging, but like he's cool. He shoots out his ravens. He summons like roots out of the grounds and like that will like track after you and like follow you, or like he'll do shit like that. It's badass. Like it is so cool. And they're playing the whole time. They're playing music from Witcher 3, and it sounds awesome. Like this is the best. So you know, I played all the Witcher games. I've even Thronebreaker. Read all the Witcher books. This to me is the definitive Witcher playing experience. I wish I could play this game but have the story of The Witcher 3. You know what I mean? Like that writing, that, you know, give me that world to run around, but let me have the boss fights be like this, and I'd be a happy man. This is the perfect fit. It's some of the dopest DLC I've ever seen.
I like how Geralt's running and it looks
that animation.
Like
he'll do the dive.
Well,
too.
It looks like he's running faster than his body can handle, and like he's like he doesn't know how to.
Well, it's funny because when you put your weapon away and you run when you're fighting an enemy, the animation is like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And when you do a dive, or you hit the roll button when you're running like that, you'll like do like a get the fuck out of the way dive. Which is really funny to see Geralt do that.
So in this combat,
and when you block, like normally in Sword and Shield, you hold out a little shield. But they don't like visually show the shield. He uses Quinn, a little shield bubble and stuff. So like, there's a lot of really clever, like attention to detail nods to really make this
for something they spent so much time on. Clearly. It just kind of sucks.
It's free.
But it's free, but it's over.
It's temporary. Yeah.
Well, so it is temporary right now. Now, sometimes during like special events, holidays, they'll bring back this stuff and give you another chance to do it again and get all the armor. Yeah. Which, now that I think about it, I didn't actually unlock Geralt's skin, and this is an armor set but you beat the Leshen a couple times.
You can
use anytime you want.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, the thing is, it's not like cosmetic only, like it's an actual armor set. So if you're like a min-maxer, you might not want to run around as Geralt of Rivea. But some of the DLC that they've done, like they've done a lot of crossover events. Like I found out when I was playing that the Devil May Cry armor sets, like the just fucking Dante's outfits that you can even have like the lady version, those are like cosmetic sets, which means you can wear your own armor but just look like fucking Dante. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe I missed that event.
I feel like that's the way to go with any set. I mean,
no, I know it absolutely is, but I think they don't want to do too much of that because then people would just be running around in cosmetic stuff only. I mean, I don't know. You're right. I wish it was all like that because I wish I could look like Ciri all the time. Honestly.
So you can just dream about the next Witcher game being something like this.
Exactly. Like, absolutely.
That's fucking
But
cool.
it's been great. The bad news for you guys is this ends today. So if you didn't get into this, it might already be too late. You might be waiting for the next time this shit comes around. You done fucked up. This shit, if you're a Witcher fan and a Monster Hunter fan, this shit was a must play. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Yeah.
Well, I still got Monster Hunter World to play. So.
That's what y'all get for fucking playing too much fucking Apex. You've been missing cool shit like this.
I haven't been playing too much Apex.
Crispy,
I have played 0 hours of Apex.
The past couple weeks, I've texted Crispy repeatedly to play this shit, and I know he didn't. The fucking fool.
To be fair, he has been moving, and he's had a lot of shit going on.
I don't care. I've had a lot of shit going on, damn it.
I give 0 shits. Well, we can give Crispy shit about that next week when he returns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say about this? Before we
No, just that it's super cool.
I just wish if I ever...
It's super cool, and it's too late for you guys. I'm sorry.
I feel like I would play this game in maybe 5 years, but I would be annoyed that I wouldn't be able to play this content. So I don't like time.
I feel like that's the
events
nature
this.
of probably a lot of the DLC for that. But the thing is,
But I mean,
the base game is great.
this shit's
still.
free too. And they've done a really good job of updating and doing these crossover events. You know, not all of it's temporary. Like, you could still do Final Fantasy crossover. You can fight a behemoth. You know,
Yeah.
get those armor sets. You know, that stuff.
I'm
stayed
just
in
saying,
the game.
I would pay a developer an additional $20 on top of
It's
the
like
price
elusive
just to
targets. The
keep
reason
that
they do that
permanent.
is so you keep going back and play it constantly. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, games as a service doesn't count for playing a game in 5 years.
Oh, there's the Quinn. Sorry.
But anyway,
Anyways.
whatever.
Sure. Well, there's a good chance that when Iceborne comes out, they bring back all this stuff.
Oh, right. That's a thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Is that happening this year?
Yeah. I was starting to get I was getting the Monster Hunter itch. I was worried playing this DLC that I would get sucked back into it, and it was starting to happen, but I plan to not play any more Monster Hunter until Iceborne
Man,
comes
maybe
out.
I should start focusing on Monster Hunter because,
It's good, dude. It's really fucking good.
damn it. Anyways, let's talk about Metro Exodus for a second, shall
Okay.
we?
I like this video game.
I finished this yesterday. Chris Davis, last time we talked, you hadn't started this, but now you're pretty
I'm pretty certain
close.
close to the end. Yeah.
You're pretty close to the end based on what you told me before the show. We can actually roll the footage that I brought last week, but was sadly unable to play because of the power outage. But I have since then played another 15, 20 hours of the game and wrapped it up. And pretty much everything that I said last week about the game still kind of stands. It still has, that Brad, you had asked about the Euro jank, and that's definitely still an element of this game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this game goes some crazy places, and it goes like one of my favorite things about this game, now that I've played it from start to finish, is just like how much variety there is, and like there are so many like really unique encounters in combat. It doesn't feel like your average like shooter where it's just like even if shooters are paced more slowly, like when you get into a firefight, they always kind of feel the same. But like from start to finish, they were putting me in these like really unique scenarios.
And there's never really like standardized structures for where they place enemy bases or areas to explore. Like every environment feels pretty unique.
Yeah, and the area that I recorded this footage for, and this is I mentioned this last week. This was kind of
It's like an anomaly down there.
Yeah, honestly, I just realized this. I don't think I ever went down and fully explored that when I was in this area. This is the one I kind of mentioned last week. It feels kind of like Mad Max, and it's like I didn't even know this existed in the game, and I got here and I was like, what the fuck? It's like a giant open desert, and it's actually just like it's like the ocean bed that's been dried out. So there's like ships everywhere that are like half buried in sand and stuff. And I just didn't see this coming at all. And like they introduced this new enemy type that like hides itself in the sand and like blends. Like I don't know if y'all saw this. I tweeted it the other day, but I came around a corner and I turned and I had my flashlight and it was kind of like dusk, and I like turned around and it was like my flashlight hit the wall and there was a dude perfectly still, just flat up against the wall,
blending in the wall, yeah,
and just like hoping that I didn't see him. And I was like, this shit's creepy. This shit's really creepy. They just try and blend into walls and just ambush you when you come around the corner.
No, the worst ones are when you come across just like dead bodies on the ground, and then as you walk by them, they rise out from underneath the bodies and attack you.
Yeah, they'll bury themselves underneath dead bodies. it does some crazy shit.
Is this a game that gets better the more you play it?
Here's the thing. It doesn't. I don't know. Get better as the.
Because
One thing I noticed, and
a lot of people.
Chris Davis can probably agree with me here, but like, so I mentioned last week there's 4 main chapters in the game. Each one is kind of a different area. It represents kind of a different season of the year. But one thing I noticed as you go, this area you're in right here is the most open. It is like a huge, or not a huge. It is like a small mini open world that you can fully explore at your leisure. There's no real pathways to lead you anywhere. You're just kind of out there exploring. It's like Fallout, right?
It's like the Pirates of the Caribbean world in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
Just a random mini open world.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the
Middle of
first
the
world
game.
was kind of open as well, but on a smaller scale. So I was like, they got here, and it opened up even further, and it was open. I was like, oh shit, is it just going to keep doing this? And then at some point after this, they start to narrow as you go through chapters. And like the next chapter after this is open, but it's kind of it's a thinner open world. It's kind of like a giant hallway, kind of, but you can explore off the beaten path in that area.
I mean, all that map is area that exists, but you just can't go over there.
Yeah,
Because Artyom can't swim.
yeah, which is weird.
Well,
but
then it doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, if you grew up in underground tunnels for 20 years of your life,
I mean, the thing is,
Don't
Okay,
give me
about
the lore
swimming
reasons.
lessons,
I'm
just
saying
saying.
I can't go there.
like in the game though,
yeah.
they give you a lot of space to explore, but you are kind of it's kind of funneling you down a path, and then you get to the final area, and it's like straight up like a chapter of,
Very linear,
of
yeah.
Metro, like Metro 2033 or Metro Last Light.
But that, I mean,
so-
it progressively gets more story focused, though.
Yes, it does progressively get more story focused, and it does some really interesting things. Like going from a level like this, where it's very open and giving you a lot of freedom to explore, to a level that is very linear, just makes the game feel like it has a ton of variety. And it also reminded me of like, okay, I forgot what they did really well from the previous games until I kind of got to that last level in this game, and I was like, oh, this just feels like a much more polished, more involved, longer chapter of a chapter.
So you're saying it's kind of like Final Fantasy 15.
I don't know if that's
no,
derogatory.
I don't think it's because I would still describe the first 3 areas you go to. I would describe all 3 of them as open and totally different from one another. I feel like Final Fantasy 15 is one like giant open world that very much feels like it's all part of the same thing, and then you get to the end and it just funnels into a very linear ending. Mm-hmm. This is like every chapter they take you to feels totally different than the last. There's new things you have to account for. There's new enemy types.
There's new sub objectives you can do if you want.
I mean, so you had asked last week about
Is the drive
Pacifist runs
to
and whatnot?
explore?
Yeah.
Is it there? I mean, if this is a more story-driven game,
Oh no!
like, do you want to go exploring? I mean,
Yes.
what's the benefit?
Yes, you do. Especially in this map, because you will see like run aground derelict ships that could hold shit. I found a ship in the southern part of the map against like a mountain range that was separating the map from the train.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of built into the mountain. And I went exploring in there, and there was a fucking spider hive in there.
Ooh.
But if I went through that and I actually explored, I found a guy who was using the spiders as a barrier to hide from like the pirates or whatever, the slavers. And he gives you a workbench and stuff to do. And
I mean, the thing is, I think a lot of the drive in this game to explore the area, while there is definitely stuff to find and stuff like attachments to add to your weapons and stuff, which I talked about last week, I think the attachment system in this game is fucking awesome. But like, a lot of the drive to explore here is lore based. Like, there's just a lot of like
That's cool though.
interesting like factions that are kind of spread across the map that all have different.
So kind of Fallout.
because you have to realize with the Metro franchise, it's that up until this point, all the stories have all been about the Moscow Underground.
Yeah.
They've never explored beyond Moscow. And this they just, with this game, they open up like the entire scope of what this series can be.
And I mentioned last time that I thought I was happy that they did away with the ammo as currency system, mostly just because I felt like those kind of dragged the experience down, despite it being a cool idea. And I was like, that's gonna be weird, just like all of a sudden just dropping that entirely, because it's like part of the world they built.
Yeah.
But like, it's not necessary. And
No, it's not in this.
because of the story they're telling. Like, you're not dealing with shopkeepers. You're not dealing you're not in the Metro Underground dealing with people and having to buy stuff, like barter with people. Like,
it was the economy system of the Moscow Underground.
So there's no point, there's no need to have it. So they're able to find a good lore reason to just not include it in this game at all.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. I will say this, I played with the intention of... I almost always play games with the intention of being the good guy, right? I don't intentionally kill innocent people. If I'm given a choice to spare someone's life, I almost always take it.
Yeah.
That's the way I played this game. I still got the bad ending. Quote unquote bad ending. I will say this, I think the bad ending in this game is still a fitting and fine ending to the story overall.
Sometimes the bad ending is the better ending.
Well, I looked up both
and
endings.
also the canon ending.
I looked up both endings, and they're almost identical except for one detail.
Okay. But I almost want to do a spoiler cast with you just to discuss like how you got there.
Well,
because
that's part of why I brought this up. Is I can tell you why I got there, because a lot of the decisions that you make in this game, or a lot of the things that they use to determine which ending you get, has to do with how you play the game in terms of like how you make minor decisions about handling people.
Well, also about what you do in the world.
I know, but what you do in the like I said,
the more stuff you do, the more I think it rewards you.
Yes, but anytime I was given a choice to make a good or bad decision, or a greedy anytime I was able to make a good decision, I made the good decision. What killed me is because I didn't mention this last week, but I think this is one of those games that does this, and I think it's really cool. It's like, if you're in a firefight and you're killing dudes left and right, and you get down to like 2-3 people left, the last 3 people will be like, you know what? Fuck it, and they raise their hands up, and they're like, I give up, and they come out with their guns raised, and you can walk up to them, and you can just knock them out, or you can just ignore them completely. Sometimes if you ignore them completely, they'll wait till your back is turned and then shoot at you again. So I
just knocked the fuckers out.
I know, I got in the habit of knocking people out too. But there is one chapter in this game where they don't really tell you this expressly, but they start to hint to you slowly that like the people that you're seeing, the bad guys, are maybe misguided or not as evil as you would expect them to be. So maybe it'd be better if you don't kill them.
Well, see, that's the thing about every level in this game, is that there is always some group or faction that you're going to encounter quite often that is not pure evil.
Sure,
like,
but
other than just a dedicated like bandit clan, like there
there
are
you go.
dynamics
You mentioned
to each
the bandits,
clan.
and this is where this is my one problem I had, and I think the game, I know what they're trying to do, and it makes total sense, but the game is not very good at telegraphing to you who you're shooting at. Because there's one chapter in particular, chapter 3, where there's two distinct factions. One is good, and one is just fucked up. And half the time, I didn't realize I was shooting at the non-fucked up group. They will both shoot at you if they see you. So it's encouraging you to do a capacifist run, to try and sneak through their camps without killing anybody, which I tried a few times, and the moment it gets frustrating, I'm just like, fuck this. But like, I couldn't tell. There was one time I fucking mowed down probably 30 people, and then I realized, oh fuck, these are the quote-unquote good guys.
You got 30 of them?
Dude, there's tons of people in this one chapter.
See,
you couldn't look at the first
No,
one?
I was playing at night, and I could not... Like,
welcome to war, Nick.
They both wear very similar fucking outfits.
That's very true, yeah.
So...
I fucking murdered
but the thing
people.
is, like, the two factions you're talking about, like, if you pay attention in the world, you listen to people's conversations, if you find the notes that you find around the world, if you talk to some of these people...
I do all these things.
Like, they will tell you who they are, what they're about, and you'll realize that they may be aggressive, but they're not bad guys.
Chris Davis, that's what I'm saying. The game tells you these things. The game tells you these are not bad people. They don't tell you this. They shoot you if they see you.
Yes.
So you know what I do? I'm getting shot at, I fucking shoot back.
Okay, guys.
When I'm getting shot back, I run away.
Well, that's the difference. I'm just saying, I played the way I wanted to play. I was getting shot at. I reacted the way I wanted to react. You're also used to playing this game and doing like pacifist runs and trying to get through without killing as many pop. Like, I never do that. I wait till the game tells me these are good people and I don't shoot them. But this game just had them all shoot at me, so I treated them like they were all.
Well, I mentioned pacifist runs because in the original versions of Metro 23 and Last Light, 2033, you could play throughout the entire game without killing a single person.
Yes.
In Last Light, you could do it except for like killing just like maybe 3 or 4 dudes.
How is that
Like
going?
y'all talked
But
about
in the
this last
Redux versions, they edited it to where pacifist play isn't encouraged. So it doesn't
Let me
punish
ask
you for
now that
playing
you're almost done with this game. How has that been treating you?
I've been killing bandits. I don't care. They're fucking assholes.
Well, yeah, but you've been killing.
So
dudes.
David played
But
this game, and he says he loves it.
Yeah.
He also said that this is a better survival horror game than Remake 2.
What the? Those are you don't even compare them. Why would you compare the two?
That's what he said. Hot take.
Oh
Dude,
my god! What?
The spider sections, man.
David.
Man, you
Also,
remember-
speaking of spiders,
Wait, what do you do?
notoriously missing from Remake 2, there are spiders here.
Spiders are totally different. I will say that is one cool enemy in this game. The spiders.
oh,
You can't really shooting at them is practically useless. You pretty much they're always in like dark caves and shit, and the only thing you can do is shine your light at them, and they like literally like start to sizzle and burn when you shine your light on. So you're constantly having to like try and charge your battery until it's like refilled.
That's
and then
cool.
there is a
It's-
section
and
of
it's
a,
terrifying.
Spiders in Remake
there is
2.
a section of a level in like later on in the game in which you go through a dark tunnel, it's irradiated, and it fucks with your flashlight. Your flashlight will work. All you have is your fucking lighter.
Yeah.
And it is so intense. It is so good.
This game has some great shit in it. That's all.
And that sound design, holy crap, man.
It's ooh, there's a snake. Yeah, this game is. I would encourage everyone to try this and play it. It also does
Maybe.
it does a lot of things that I think. Like,
How does it run on PS4 though?
It runs great. I
I
mean,
feel like I played this on PC, but I'd have to get it on the Epic Games.
I mean, I haven't had any problems with it. I mean, there's a long loading time when you first boot the game up, but
Yeah.
after that, it's pretty smooth.
What have you been playing?
Xbone.
I mean, it runs smooth on console. Outside of the
no,
Euro
but
jank that will be there, and no matter
If you're
no matter
gonna
which
play
version you play.
a fucking Euro game, you know the PC version is like the one, right?
I guess.
Used typically. I'm
Kinda,
always
yeah.
suspect of console ports of Euro games because they're usually not.
I played this
as
game.
well.
I feel like calling this Eurojank is a little rude.
I mean, I don't know if rude. I mean, it's
So it's
the
one of
games
it's
that-
one of those high end Eurojank games where it almost looks too good for how janky it can be, and it's kind of like how what happened with the Witcher series, right? Like their games started looking too good, but they were still kind of like they never
Had a little bit of that
completely
funk
kicked
to it.
their Eurojank roots.
I think
so.
that-
It becomes this weird thing of like. This should be more polished because it looks this
I mean,
good.
I'm gonna be honest. I think The Witcher 3 is a jankier game than this.
No, yeah. I mean,
hey,
I that's fine.
And
I mean,
I think out of all three of the games they've done, the Metro games they've done, this is by far the most polished it's ever been, and it's the biggest in scope that it's ever been.
Yeah.
And it's surprisingly smooth.
but I still think this is their like Witcher 2. I want to see their Witcher 3 from these guys.
Really, you don't feel like this is maybe The Witcher 3? This is far more open than anything that
Yeah,
came
this
before
is
it.
gigantic.
No, not just in its openness, but I mean in its like truly
ambitious and
truly like, hey man, we don't even care about Half-Life anymore. It's all about Metro. You know, so one of the reasons I was somewhat skeptical of trying this, and we can move on, is that I didn't really. I played through that first one, and
that's me sparing a person,
I thought it was like okay.
and then he died on his own.
I thought that first game was okay.
Sorry.
I tried playing the second game, and I was like, eh. I didn't finish it. In fact, I stopped playing it pretty early on. So that's why I'm somewhat unsure
And
if I
this
should.
is why I was skeptical to recommend it.
But now that
you-
you've
Yeah.
finished, you still would.
I mean, it does things with like story that a lot of shooters don't do or don't.
There's a
bother
lot
trying
of
to
heart
do.
to how they tell the story in this
Oh,
game.
let me tell you this. I get what you're saying, with there being a lot of heart, but let me tell you, some of the forced sequences where you're having to listen, like where there is nothing you can do except sit there and listen to someone talk. They talk forever.
That's true. No, they do. Yeah.
And the voice acting is not quite good enough to make that okay. Like some of what like the content
It's
of what
like
they're
Kingdom Hearts.
no, but
It's like, shut the fuck up. This isn't any good.
But like, and it's not even that it's not
No.
good. The content that's there is fine, but like, there are games that this one has a really good story. I will say that. But like, this is not like The Last of Us, where you're sitting there having a quiet conversation with Ellie or something. Like, there are times when you sit there and all they want you to do is sit there and listen to you, like, talk to your wife or something. And I'm totally engaged with like what's happening between these two characters and why I should care about it. But after like 5 minutes of putting the controller down and just listening to them talk and it being kind of stilted voice acting, I'm just like, it is time.
Yeah.
Like, no, I understand.
I
Like,
heard that's kind of
like
fun.
there's the Admiral's Tea Party that you could do.
Oh my
That's
god,
like-
that went on fucking forever.
that
but
went on forever, and it was only slightly less creepy than I think they wanted it to be. But at the same time, like, when you're in the train between the main levels,
Those are the worst, man.
and you're sitting down with your wife and just enjoying time together, like, those are great
They try to give you
moments.
things to do while you're listening to them talk, like smoke a cigarette or drink your coffee, and it's like after you've taken like 10 sips of coffee and you're just like, come on.
I mean, I understand that they talk way too much, and I will readily admit that. But at the same time, just those moments of being there with those people, like, they're fleshing their characters out.
They are.
You are getting a much better sense of what has been happening, because you have to realize the transitions between these major open levels, they're literally months apart.
Yeah, I know. No,
So you got to fill in the background.
Don't get me wrong. I totally get why they did what they did. All I'm trying to say, and we can move on. All I'm trying to say is that quite a few of those moments, which are otherwise really well done, overstay their welcome.
That's fair.
I do think it's really dope that you can put out lights.
I heard
and then hide in the lights.
not just like the writing or acting, but like kind of the execution of the delivery, where sometimes you have like people talking over each other and
Yeah.
like lines running
That's
into
always
each
been a
other.
Metro thing, though.
I mean, that's not even just Metro. I've experienced that in several games. It's like the recent. I think I even have it to me in Resident Evil 2 Remake or something, where I like was trying to listen to like an audio log or something, and like I hit play right as like a major scene of like story sequence was trying to happen, and like Miller would just start talking, and I was like, and the subtitles are trying to like keep up and do the subtitles for both the audio log and Captain Miller, and I'm trying to figure out which one is which, and I'm like, what is happening here? Like, that happened to me multiple times. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff where I think it's Euro janky. But like the way the game controls, the way it feels to play, the shooting is all pretty solid.
If you ever load this game back up, go read Artyom's journal.
Oh, I do.
There is a lot of content in there.
I do.
Like, he goes over every character, everything that's been
All
happening
the
in the
enemies
world.
are all like the monsters you come up
Like,
with.
you get so much more from this game when you read those.
Also,
too.
a lot of those journal entries are what he reads during the loading screens between areas.
I mean, those are like smaller segments, though.
yeah. I know.
And
But
if you
I
want to
spent-
experience all that, you have to keep reloading.
I spent a good
So-
amount of time in his journal, but anyways, we need to move on. Metro Exodus is good.
Such a good game.
I highly recommend it if you're into shooters with stories at all. It's one of the better ones. Anyways, before we take a break, is there anything like smaller that we kind of wanted to throw out there? I know Jaeger had actually put Far Cry New Dawn in the tweet, but or in the GIF for the tweet. But I only spent like an hour with it, so I wasn't really planning on talking about it. So I'll talk about that on a future show.
Why? Fuck that game.
Why do Chris Davis, when you get like really
Stubborn,
when you get like really like when you don't like a game,
adamant.
you like
I dig in my heels. Yeah, I know.
this is a different game. First of all, Far Cry New Dawn is not Far Cry 5. Like, you should, theoretically speaking, you should be able to play Far Cry New Dawn and enjoy it whether you hated Far Cry 5 or not.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of inoffensive, Chris Davis.
based on the hour that I spent with it, it does some surprising things. It has fucking damage numbers.
So?
I'm just throwing out one thing I noticed in the very short amount of time that I played. Like, you hate Far Cry 5 for some very specific reasons, and I can tell you. What I can't tell you is whether or not Far Cry New Dawn repeats those problems. But like,
I read up on this new game, and I'm no.
okay,
Still
well,
no.
I'm still gonna play it and probably talk about it at some point.
You do
Although,
that-
not soon, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to spend my time focusing on Kingdom
Apex
Hearts
Legends?
2,
Oh.
which I am. Why are you making that face, Brad?
No reason. How's Kingdom Hearts 2?
I'm on the Pirates of the Caribbean world. You know what? Let me just say, regardless of how you feel about Kingdom Hearts, that collection, that HD collection that I'm playing on PS4, is like smooth as butter and beautiful. I did the Timeless River sequence the other day. Genuinely unique. That was really cool. Very nostalgic. I did the Disney Castle the other day. That was also really cool. I enjoyed that a lot. And some of the boss fights in Kingdom Hearts 2 are like way better than any of the bosses I fought in Kingdom Hearts 1. So on that hand, I'm really enjoying it. Also, one thing about Kingdom Hearts...
Did you Steamboat Willie yet?
Yeah, that's the Timeless River.
Okay. Yeah, that was cool.
That was a cool moment. One thing about Kingdom Hearts just in general is...
It's kind of stupid.
Well, aside...
I'm just kidding.
You have to kind of be... Oh, yeah, it's kind of stupid, but like it's in a charming way. Whatever. The point is that the way they string things together is awkward.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about, like, it's just weird how, like, I'm going to go to this world, and it gives you no sense of, like, how they got there. You're just like, I'm going to go here, and then it's, like, the next scene is, like, they're walking through Town Square in, like, Port Royal from Pirates of the Caribbean. You're like, how is this world connected to any other worlds? How do they land? Where
Through
do they
a gummy
land?
ship.
What's going on? Why do they conveniently arrive every time the story of the movies happens to be playing out?
Briefly.
Because video games.
Briefly. I didn't mention it, but this is related. I had finished Kingdom Hearts 3
Yes.
at some point. I figured out my main problem with that story, outside of, like awkward delivery, bad writing, kind of like emotionless, like voice acting from like a lot of the characters.
Zero Square characters.
Yeah, like it's got its issues, right? So like not only does the delivery of the story kind of suck, but the reason I think that the content of the story also is terrible is because there are like no stakes at all.
Oh, you mentioned this the other day. I agree.
On a podcast?
I think so.
I don't know, because I missed like the last couple of podcasts.
I thought you did on the podcast, but
there's
whatever.
like no stakes because like to the characters, like it's so much like a big deal. Oh, this person's lost, or oh, this person's dead, or oh, this person is back. But like the point, none of it matters. Everybody comes back. Nobody's gone for good. It's like everyone is acting like it's a big deal, but none of it is actually a big deal. I mentioned it on Twitter, and you know the Aqua got Norded. Big deal.
It's not a big deal.
2 seconds. It's. I don't want to spoil anything seriously, but like it doesn't actually matter because like, can you really spoil anything when nothing actually matters? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Let me just. And I said this on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I feel this way about Kingdom Hearts in general. Is that I think Kingdom Hearts has a lot of potential. I think it is still charming as fuck. I love so much about the series, but like at this point, Disney should have done all the writing for this fucking series, all of it, because Square Enix's writing is. They do not inject
just
any
don't
of
say
what...
Square Enix. You need to say Nomura.
Sorry.
He's the reason this stuff sucks.
I mean, you have to realize that they stretched this series out, which should have been just like 3 iterations, into 7 or 8 different games with various different directors and writers and things like that. You gotta cohesively build these things together eventually.
But that, like, it's just...
No, they did. The problem is there's like a ton of retconning. There's like, a lot of this no stakes, non-committal bullshit, Like no one really dies. But like stuff should matter because everything matters, but then nothing matters. And that just kills it.
It's a bummer.
It ruins it.
It's a bummer.
And like Kingdom Hearts 3 is real sloppy and it doesn't wrap up in any like satisfying way. Like that game ended way before I thought it did because I didn't realize that the resolutions for all these different storylines that have been happening over like 15 years have actually that's how they chose to like wrap it up in like a tiny little cutscene where I think Nolan talked about a little bit where you're fighting these boss fights with like 3 different members of Organization like 13 like multiple times, right?
Yeah.
And you get into one of these boss fights and they all have different health bars. And like as soon as you like get one of their health parts downs, the boss stops for a second. It plays a little cutscene of like, hey, this was my name, remember? this is how I leave the story. This is how my story wraps up. And then you go back into the boss fight. You whittle another health bar down to 0, and it's like, cutscene. This is my resolution to the story for like 10 seconds. And then you go back in, and it does that for like everybody in the game. And it's like, this is bad. This is lame. Like if you're going to have this culmination of this big, long story over all these games and all these years, just go all out like fucking Metal Gear Solid 4 did. You know what I mean? Of like, go the extra mile, do like the hours and hours of cutscenes, to give everyone their due, not just this hand wave and remember me? Now I'm leaving. People awkwardly appear in Kingdom Hearts 3 just to be there. Like, remember me? Now I'm leaving. Like, it's fucking... It's kind of bad. So my arc on Kingdom Hearts is like, I started playing, I'm like, no, this kind of sucks. Kingdom Hearts kind of sucks. This kind of sucks. And I'm like, no, I'm having fun. This is fine. And by the end of it, I'm like, no, Kingdom Hearts kind of sucks.
How about...
Okay.
That's where I was at. That's where I was at.
Then I'm going to ask this incendiary question. Which did it worse? Kingdom Hearts series resolution or Mass Effect series resolution?
Kingdom Hearts. I mean, Mass Effect's ending is kind of...
Wait. I think the answer to that question is definitely Mass Effect because of the fact that the game had such a terrific story up until the end.
Yeah, you cared at the end of Mass Effect.
Kingdom Hearts 1...
But it's still a better resolution.
Kingdom Hearts never built up that... Never, like you said...
Well, don't say that to the hardcore fans because to them it like means everything.
Sure. Fair enough. I mean, but here's the thing. I don't know if I've ever really... quote unquote cared about the story in Kingdom Hearts, but like I still find the game like to be strangely just relaxing and fun and charming, and like I feel like that's kind of all that matters.
Sure, but you're only thinking about like the Disney stuff when you say that, and that's fine.
Yeah, you're right. One thing that's kind of bumming me out, like I mentioned this,
which is all like you look at any lore video and they're like, oh, none of that's important. Don't worry about any of that Disney stuff. Let's talk about Xemnas. That's every lore video, that's what the fans care about, which is weird because that's so bad. But hey, we've talked about Kingdom Hearts plenty. You're gonna keep going throughout the year. That's cool.
Are you actually gonna play the side titles?
He's not.
God,
but
I feel like I've answered this question like 1,000 times for everybody on this
couch. He's just
gonna
play 1, 2, and 3,
and in the community.
Maybe, I haven't asked this question.
Maybe
so
play
it's my
episode
turn.
Aqua. Maybe play that point 2.
Maybe I will. I'm doing 1, 2, and 3. That is all I'm doing. That is all I care to do. I'm not going to look anywhere outside of that. I might watch a YouTube video or something. That is about the extent of my...
I would be really happy if you just went from the end of Kingdom Hearts 2 to 3. That would be awesome.
You mean without watching anything?
Without watching anything. That'd be great. That'd be fucking great. Because I'm telling you, you know what doesn't actually matter? Aqua. You know what doesn't actually matter? Ventus or Vanitas or Terra. None of that actually matters.
I don't know who any of those people are.
Exactly. You're not going to know who they are because they're not in Kingdom Hearts 2. And everyone's like, no, they're such a big deal. And they're in Kingdom Hearts 3. You got to know. But you don't need to know because it doesn't fucking matter.
I did watch that video you posted that was about Chain of Memories, I think it was. Was it Chain of Memories? What's the one?
Dream Drop Distance?
No.
You watch Chain of Memories.
Yeah, it was like a 28-minute video about the story of Chain of Memories, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But you know what? Kingdom Hearts, the fact that Kingdom Hearts even exists is kind of the most mind-blowing thing about it.
It's such a strange thing.
It is one of the strangest things in games.
It outsold Resident Evil 2 in January.
Well, yeah, I saw that one coming a mile away.
Yeah, that was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't by that much.
But hey, Resident Evil 2 is still going strong though. 4 million copies, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, especially for a horror game.
Yeah, no joke. Anything else we want to say? Anything small? We need to take a break. But
let's take a break.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about that sweet Pokemon news. We're gonna talk about that not so sweet THQ news, and we're gonna answer some questions from our Patreon supporters and Twitch supporters, and we're gonna read the last few responses from our supporter spotlight, Illumination 83. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us. We watched the Nintendo Direct that we missed during the break, or I guess the Pokemon Direct. That's what they were calling it. So why don't we just jump straight into news? There's only 2 news topics this week. You okay there over there, Chris Davis?
Oh, I think
oh no,
that's already helping.
Yeah. We can't have these community brainstorming sessions. It's just going to turn into a bunch of Nick Dinosaur jokes. Anyways, we had a great idea during the break. We'll talk about that later, though. Anyways, let's jump into the news. Since this is fresh on our minds, why don't we talk about Pokemon? We watched the Direct during the break. Nintendo finally unveiled their first look at the new Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is the new RPG's Gen 8, I guess, of Pokemon, which is coming to the Switch this winter, I suppose.
Yes.
For the end of the year.
Yes.
Definitely going to be their big title for the end of the year, maybe along with Animal Crossing. Do we know if Animal Crossing is coming out this year?
I think so.
Probably.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, we finally got our first look at this. These were the games that they announced or that they teased. Was that 2 E3s ago or last year? I don't remember. I think it was. Not 2018, but E3 2017.
Yeah.
They announced that they were working.
I think when they revealed Let's Go, they said they were also doing
a dedicated Switch. Yeah.
So we finally got our first look at the proper Pokemon RPGs coming to Switch.
The first Pokemon RPG on a fucking console.
Yes.
Ever. It took 20 years.
That's not true.
Well, it's
what
still
about
kind of a
Pokemon
handheld.
XD?
I mean, we're talking about RPG, like straight up
Traditional
classic.
Pokemon experience.
This is a traditional Pokemon game.
Just say real Pokemon.
Yes, real Pokemon coming to the Switch. The thing is, it took them 20 years, but they finally put it on a console that also just happens to double as a handheld. But yeah, so initial thoughts?
It looks like fucking Pokemon.
Okay.
It looks like a PS2 game, which is fine because it never looked that close to a PS2 game before.
Yes. I feel like PS2 is not cutting in enough credit.
An HD remaster of a PS2
Thank
game.
you. A PS3 remaster of a PS2 game.
Yeah,
That's what it looks like.
Boom. But see, that's a big step forward for Pokemon, you know?
It
I mean,
is,
that's
yeah.
kind of like how Fire Emblem was when it first came to consoles.
But you know what? I'm like, it may not be the biggest step in the world, graphically speaking or visually speaking, but like, it's a pretty dramatic shift for just like aesthetically speaking. It's a new. It looks newer, nicer than it's ever looked before.
Yeah.
And like seeing something that I'm familiar with in a totally new light could make it feel really refreshing. I don't know. The world looks pretty big. They already showed the whole fucking world map and everything. So, like, there's a lot of stuff to explore there, obviously. I'm just really hoping. And during the Direct, they mentioned, like, you know, travel across the world and go to gyms. And they said gyms. I was like, fuck, we're just doing the gym thing again. But, like,
ever.
I'm really, you know what? That is what Pokemon is. And I suppose maybe it's.
You
That's
say
what
that, but
core Pokemon
this is Nintendo who just did Breath of the Wild. And you know what? We knew what Zelda was before that, but they, you know, still did something crazy and ambitious and modern, and it was wonderful.
And think about how
why
many
does
other
Pokemon have to be so stuck?
They did the
in
same
tradition.
thing. I mean, they did the same thing you just described with Super Mario Odyssey, maybe to a lesser extent. Like Super Mario Odyssey is a really refreshing, exciting, fun, modern game.
Yeah, but I don't think this is it. This is more of like a Dragon Quest 11 or something. Like it just looks nicer, but it's still.
Sure.
Pokemon.
I mean, we are also making these assumptions based off of what they said in a 7-minute video.
Sure.
And, like, they could be talking about gyms, but, like, the gyms could be handled in a totally different way.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the way the story is paced and, like, the way you train. The combat could be totally fucking
Sure, but
different.
you know what?
Who
They
knows?
showed
I
off the
doubt that,
3
but-
starters, and there's a fire one, and there's a water one, and guess what? There's a plant one. You know, it's just, it's Pokemon, man.
It is definitely going to be familiar. My hope is that they've introduced enough freshness into it that it, you know. The thing is, like,
I mean,
look, I loved Pokemon back in the day. I've tried several times to go back and play it, like play some of the newer ones on DS and whatnot, and it was just kind of like it wasn't a big enough step for me. So it's like I always felt like, what am I doing with my life playing this? Especially when it's, you know, especially since it's always been like There's like over 600 Pokemon now. Like, why am I even trying to start this?
No, up until this point, there's about 800 now.
Yeah, that makes it so much better. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm definitely, I absolutely 100% want to try this because
I might even
it's on
play
the Switch.
And
I'm hoping that it's hard.
But in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking like, I'm not gonna catch them all, which is the fucking point.
You don't have to catch
well,
them
back
all.
then you could catch them because there were 151 of them.
But you know what? The Switch has kind of reinvigorated a lot of franchises. I mean, like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I think is like a huge return to form for that series, and it's kind of like maybe like the thing is, I remember back in the day playing Pokemon on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color and stuff, and having a lot of fun like trying to like trade them back and forth with my friends. We all have Switches here. We're all interested in the what's new and big on the Switch. It's like if a few of us pick up the game, and not to mention they have online capabilities now, like. Maybe if trading amongst people in the community becomes big, like that could be really fun. That could be really cool.
Oh, there'll probably be something like a Pokemon market or something.
I want a Haunter, guys. Someone give me a Haunter.
Well, there'll be Haunters, yeah.
Or a Gengar.
What about Mr. Mime?
No.
Dude.
Did y'all watch that new movie trailer?
Yeah, dude, what the fuck?
It looks pretty good.
What is up with that? How does that movie look so good?
It has no right to be, but
it looks okay.
I mean, it looks way better than it has any right to be, I feel like.
But as far as content that could be in these new games, like I think there's plenty of room for potential because number one, this game has been in development for several years.
You mean there's plenty of potential for potential? Is what you're saying?
I mean, I guess I don't know, but what I'm saying is
there's plenty of potential.
Over
for
20 years of these games, there have been, in addition to the core titles, there have been spin-off after spin-off after spin-off. There was Pokemon Snap, there was the Mystery Dungeons, there was the fucking Detective Pikachu shit. Like there was Hey You Pikachu. There was a ton of different things that they could do that they could just take those core ideas and just incorporate them in the game.
Well, they've got a lot of
Hey, you know what?
stuff to
I got a hot take. I think Nintendo's going after the furry community with this new game, Sword and Shield. Two reasons. One, in the logo, the Sword and the Shield, for no reason have a wolf on the logo.
Well, do you know for no reason?
A wolf head on the logo.
And what if that's a legendary?
One of the starter Pokemon is totally a bunny rabbit, which is also appealing to the furry community. Less than an hour after this Nintendo Direct, I saw like a sexy fuck girl version of this bunny rabbit. I'm not even kidding.
The internet.
Welcome to the internet.
I'm telling you, the wolves, the bunny, Nintendo knows what the fuck they're doing. Furries are big money. They have to be because they spend so much money on those fursuits. Nintendo knows they got the deep pockets. So they're going for them furry dollars.
You know what? I saw somebody on Twitter when we tweeted about the show tonight. They were like, they tweeted at us and they said, I can hear the Pokemon discussion already in my head, and I'm just wondering if that was part of it. Like if they thought that if someone's like furries are gonna have something to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would agree with that hot take if Nintendo was licensing and selling Pokemon onesie outfits.
There is still time. There is still time.
I mean, sure, yeah. This is a later this year title. Yes.
You know what? I don't mean we don't.
Let's not talk about furries.
There is reason to be excited for this.
Okay.
This could be cool. I'm optimistic. Maybe hesitantly optimistic. I don't know, but I hope they somehow. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm total.
Introduced for like variety or.
Wow, I mean that's too basic. I'm hoping there's a word for this and it's just totally gone. It's 100% gone. I'm gonna stop this sentence now because it's gone. The word I was thinking of is totally gone from my head. So,
you're hoping it's not the same basic formula that they've had for all 20 years.
Yes, but there was one word I was going to use to say that. But yes, thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to say.
I think everybody's hoping that.
We will.
Someone in chat
talk more about this later.
Send me a link to like the nastiest fucking deviant art of these starter Pokemon that's already on.
God,
I want to see what's already out there.
People are already like, to the internet.
No one else click the link. It's only for me. I want to see.
Nobody's gonna not do that, or nobody's gonna like avoid clicking the.
Sorry. I want to see those. Show me like a. DeviantArt? Is that even what it is? I want to see like
You don't know what
I want to see all three of them fucking start a Pokemon running a train. Just give me like the most fucked up shit you've found. I know some of y'all have already that shit saved to your desktops or whatever. So just show me. Just show me.
You know what the worst part of this is, Brad?
Oh,
We're
continue.
recording this. This is going to be distributed to the public, and for years, people are going to be sending you this shit.
We're gonna have 100 comments in this podcast. They're all the links are gonna end up in our comment section. Is what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh Jesus!
These people are leaving comments.
At least. Fucking Jesus.
Y'all can continue.
All right, let's move on from this. We'll talk more about Pokemon Sword and Shield as we learn more. I'm sure you'll hear a lot about this before the end of the year. I'm sure. Let's move on to the other news topic, which is on the other end of the spectrum as far as news topics go.
Quite literally the shit show.
Quite literally a complete shit show. I'm sure many of you saw this. THQ Nordic, the publisher who has become known lately for picking up everything, and
With bottomless money.
yeah, with seemingly bottomless money, recently put out Darksiders 3. You know, that kind of shit. They randomly, their PR department randomly decided to hold an AMA on fucking 8chan,
Yes.
which, if you're not familiar, is like for scum who got kicked out of 4chan, right?
It's the racist pedo 4chan.
Yeah. When
The worst.
4chan started cracking down on child porn, so all those classy people had to run over and you know, we should not even be saying the name of the goddamn site.
Yeah, I really shouldn't have said that. Should I bleep that out?
Nah, whatever. People
Well,
know.
it's
the
too late.
I mean,
story.
we're okay. Yeah, I apologize. I feel bad for even mentioning it. In other words, the point is they did a AMA. They announced an AMA on a web forum that has ties to like terrible shit. And like when people ask them about it, like, is this a mistake? Did you mean something else? They doubled down on it. They're like, no, this is legit. We're doing this. And they're like, their whole take on it was like, why are you doing this? I don't know why. And it was just, oh, thank you, Robert III, for subscribing. We really appreciate that. It was just like the worst decision a PR department I feel like could have made. And then when people like approach them about, you know, the ties that it has and stuff, they after the fact, after it had happened, is like their response was literally like, oh, we didn't know, we should have done our due diligence, we didn't know about these things.
But when they first started posting, they were like leaning into it. They knew.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like,
they knew what they were getting.
No,
into.
that's what I'm saying. When people asked them about it later, they said we didn't know about what it was known for or anything, or we didn't know what the consensus was, or what the vibe or tone of the community was.
Like, they thought it was like an edgy community, but not like something that's absolutely terrible.
But if you go back and look at some
actual banned by Google and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
if you go look at some of their responses that people have screenshotted, don't actually go there and look at the responses, but like if you see some of the stuff, they like it's all like playing to the audience. It's all like it's like the worst, most like shittiest, non-classy responses to questions. And like, what are they thinking? Is it just me, or does this seem like PR suicide, or is this going to be a good thing for them?
No, it was. This doesn't seem intentional in any way, shape, or form to me. It feels like they were just
intentional by who? I mean, I feel like
by the PR department.
Well, I feel like somebody.
I feel like they just did not know.
You're taking them at their word for that. Do you see some of the things?
I have to assume, like, otherwise they just fucking committed career suicide.
Yeah, that's why
they've destroyed any hope of working in PR at all, ever.
That's kind of why why it's a story.
Yeah,
because they seemingly did that.
Yeah, the action and intentions though are like kind of two different things.
But is this okay? Two things. Is this guy gonna lose his job? And
I would certainly, at the very least, the person who set this up should probably lose their job, right?
No, but I mean, they probably had some people like sign off on it before he did it. I mean, maybe you can't fire the guy. Maybe you can. Do you think there's going to be any lasting harm? Probably not, though. Really?
I mean,
if they clean up their game, then yeah, they might
clean up their game. It was just like a one-off stupid thing.
By clean up your game, you mean don't do an AMA on that website again? Like, okay.
Well, the
damage is done.
I mean, if they fire the guy and they have a new lead take over, and they shift the direction of how they're doing PR there, then that'll help. It will help.
You're missing the point, Chris Davis. They can't shift the way they're doing PR there because they were never going to do this more than once. The shift has already happened. They did it. They're not going to do it again. The shift has happened. The question now becomes: is the public okay with the fact that they did it, or are we going to hold them accountable? You know what I mean? It's like the whole thing feels kind of dirty now. Like that, like you said, the fucking website they did this on has like ties to child pornography, and it's kind of like, how do you bounce back from that as a PR person, as a PR firm? How do you bounce? Like, how do you sell a game? Like, oh yeah, we're those publishers that fucking did this. Like,
we've seen publishers do stupid stuff, but maybe this is just a special kind of stupid.
It'll be really interesting to see how this unfolds.
They probably just thought it was like 4chan, basically.
That wouldn't have been much better if they did it on 4chan.
You're right.
Or even like maybe the guy thought it was kind of like a Reddit experience.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, but like
that is grasping at straws, though.
How do you even? Here's the thing. How do you know what 8chan is? Unless you know what 8chan is. You know what I mean? I had to ask what 8chan is.
But the thing is, they approached them. It wasn't their idea initially.
Wait, who approached you?
Like other people, not the PR firm, approached them and asked them to do it.
Okay, so this was all this was like a trap.
They got punked.
They got punked. I mean, is that true? The PR company was approached by members of this.
They were given like guarantees from some guy named Mark.
I mean, the problem,
which they said, shout out to
fucking
Mark. By the way. God damn it, Mark.
Oh, I know Mark.
So,
I mean,
classic Mark.
Classic Mark.
The thing is, I mean, at some point, you got to be held accountable for like doing your research. That's a terrible thing to have to do research on, but like, I feel like it wouldn't take long to realize what, like, if someone from a random website reached out to me and was like, "Hey, will you come on my website and do like an interview or something?" I'd be like, "Well, let me look into that first," and I would like Google them. And see what happens. If I Googled a website and it didn't come up on Google, I'd be like, what's that all about?
They got trolled. Yeah, they got trolled.
If they got trolled, they got trolled hard. And like they are, even if they're not totally to blame, somebody's to blame for like not doing their due diligence. Because what the fuck? That should not be that hard to figure out that like that's not a place you should be. Like, I had to ask what it was. I didn't know what it was. So like, just ask the question, people. Ask the question before you do stupid shit.
A little background research doesn't hurt.
We'll see what happens. This is still only a couple days old, so we'll see what I guess the real test will be when they when they publish their next game, right? Like,
which would be Biomutant, I think.
Oh no, that game looked cool. I would hate to. I bet developers who are being published by them are like super pissed right now because,
of course,
potentially all their games are being thrown under the bus by this stunt.
No, listen, man, this kind of shit is only controversial enough to be newsworthy, and that's it. They'll be fine. People are gonna forget about this in a week. I mean, yeah,
it may be a little longer than that,
we'll
but
see.
yeah,
we'll see. When does Biomutant come out?
Nothing matters.
They have a few months at least to decide.
I thought that was like March or April.
No, it's not that soon.
Somebody in chat look up when the release date for Biomutant. I genuinely would like that game to be good and like support it. I would hate to see this like go down the tube because of this kind of shit. But anyways, we'll talk more about this if it happens to come up again. So,
I feel like this one is very Nick.
Inspired. No. Why do people do this? Oh god!
You asked for this shit. Don't push that on him.
I am genuinely curious. I do want to see.
You really want to say that out loud?
What the fuck is that? I didn't even have time to read this. Sorry, Brad is showing me all the stuff that people are people sending this to you in chat or something?
No, Toast is DMing me this stuff.
Of course it's Toast. Of course it's Toast.
Oh man,
not Toast. Toast.
Oh,
green toast.
Oh, green toast. Oh,
I
expected better.
He's coming through though on your request. Anyways, let's move on.
Oh god, there's so much. Ow!
All right, before we get, oh god,
this is
what the? Who does this shit? How How was that? How was that anybody's first instinct? With oh my god!
Is this the PokePorn show?
How do you see a trailer for a brand new Pokemon game and the first thought out of your fucking head is like, I'm gonna draw porn to this, like
Rule 34.
Like the trailer came out yesterday morning?
Wait, is Gronky? What's the
Grookey.
chameleon?
Oh, Grookey? No, that's S something.
Oh my god!
What's the chameleon's name?
It is PokePorn. That's PokePorn. Oh my god!
Here's my question though: is Grookey eating the chameleon's ass, or is the chameleon a lady? Just trying to understand the mechanics. Sobble. Is Sobble a lady?
I like
Slobbering Sobble.
I like how Kenton the other day, one of our lovely Patreon supporters, asked us a question that I thought was a little too racy to be asking to like read on the feed, and you just totally blew that out of the water.
Racy, dude. Come on, no one's even watching this shit. We're fine. Sobble gobble, am I right?
I try to have standards, okay? I try to have standards, and y'all just keep making it harder and hard. Wait, I shouldn't be saying that. That's
y'all.
That came out worse than I was hoping. Anyways,
I was discouraging this shit.
Before we get to our Patreon and supporter questions, I would like to take a moment.
That's gross.
Oh my God.
What's the rabbit's name?
Score Bunny?
Great name.
Score Bunny? Is that it? That's a bad name. Score Bunny?
Yes.
That can't be it. It's like Scorball or something.
No,
right?
it's Score Bunny. What?
So, Gronky's like eating out fucking Sobble, right? But like the rabbit, Score Bunny, is just spitting into her mouth. What even is that? Just hocking a loogie right into her mouth. That's like a special kind of fucked up. Look at this shit. Instead of spitting, she's just drooling into her mouth. No. Just drooling right into Sobble's mouth.
Oh, God,
Look. Don't take your glasses off. Look at it.
No!
That's so fucked up.
I'm going to sleep in 2 hours. I don't need to see that.
Oh, my God.
This is the perfect time to see that. Oh, my God. Anyways,
That's gross.
can we move on?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Sorry.
It's all your fault.
Anyways, I would like to go ahead, before we get to our Patreon questions, I would like to read the last few responses. Our supporter spotlight for the month. Every month we pick a supporter. We give them a chance to reach out to the community and tell us a little bit more about themselves. Our supporter spotlight this month is Illumination83. This is our last week of her being the supporter spotlight. So I'm going to read the remainder of her questions. There might be a little bit more than usual because I didn't get as far into it as I did last week, or as I meant to last week. So here we go. We asked, what is a game that you consider to be underrated that you wish more people would play, and why? And she said, The Peacekeepers, also known as Rushing Beat Siura. Have you heard of this? Are you listening? Are you looking at PokePorn?
I'm posting it in general. I mean, there's not actually
You're posting PokePorn in general?
It's not. This one's not explicit. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
Put the phone down, Brad.
Okay. What are we talking about?
I'm going to reread this question. This is we're supporter spotlight, Brad.
Okay.
Since you were clearly distracted.
Illumination. Gotcha.
The question is, what is a game that you consider to be underrated that you wish more people would play, and why? She said, you ready? You listening?
Underrated.
The Peacekeepers, also known as Rushing Beat Siura. Have you heard of this? It's an SNES game similar to Fatal Fury that came out in 1994.
A fighting game.
It was developed by Jaleco. I don't know if Fatal Fury had this, but this game had a 4-player battle mode where you could go against your friends or cousins. Friends or cousins.
Only cousins.
Or only friends or cousins. I don't know if this game was the first to do this.
What's the name of the game again?
The Peacekeepers, I'm guessing, is maybe the name in the U.S. I could be wrong. Also known as Rushing Beat Siura.
That's probably the Japanese name, then.
Right.
Not heard of it. Sorry.
But,
I'm listening. I'm not heard of it.
I mean, so if you want to look up, I guess it's a fighting game. If you're comparing it to Fatal Fury, it must be a fighting game, right?
Yeah.
So it's called The Peacekeepers, if anyone's interested in checking that out. That is Illumination 83's recommendation. We also asked, what is your most cherished gaming-related memory? She said, most definitely playing the Twisted Metal series, especially Twisted Metal 2 with my brother and father. I played the heck out of Mr. Grimm.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Grimm.
Dude, Twisted Metal was dope. I miss Twisted Metal Black. Do people look back fondly at Twisted Metal Black?
That's probably the most... That or two of the fan favorites.
Those are the only two I think I've played as significant
2012
amount of
is
time.
super underrated, though.
I do remember you liked that game a lot. And of course, since this is the last week of the month where she is the supporter spotlight, we give her a chance to do her own 4-player minute. You know how that works. But essentially, we asked them to send in their own personal hype, sweat, thank you, and fuck you for the month. And I'm going to start with her hype. The Sinking City, which is planning to come out in March, although I think that was just in the past week, maybe delayed.
Yeah.
So maybe delayed a month or two. I'm not entirely sure what the delay was, but The Sinking City is coming out soon. If you like Cthulhu games, you may like this one. I'm actually have my eye on that one as well.
This one most certainly will be kind of janky, though,
yes,
right?
this one looks cool, but it screams Eurojank, but it could totally be dope. I have my eye on a few Eurojank games this year, including The Sinking City, and the other one was Greedfall. I mentioned that earlier. That's a Focus Home Entertainment game. Her sweat was, all I ever wanted was a sequel to Final Fantasy VIII. I think Square Enix missed an opportunity with this one and could have expanded the universe. I don't know if that's really a sweat, but I see what you're saying there. I mean, they didn't really start doing sequels to Final Fantasy games until 10, though. And I don't think we ever saw a sequel to Final Fantasy.
What about
they did
Dirge of Cerberus?
Dirge of Cerberus. Maybe you're right.
And they did Final Fantasy for the After
They
Years?
did spin-offs. I wouldn't call them sequels.
After Years, 13 odd sequels. I mean, it's all fair game now, right? Even 15 was originally a spin-off
War
of
of the
13.
Lions.
Well, War of the Lions is a remake. Or
But like,
port. Yeah.
but you know, like Final Fantasy VIII, just I guess in Square's eyes, is I don't know what it is about Final Fantasy VIII.
It's the redheaded stepchild.
Why though? I don't understand. Like, that's a great game.
I mean, it was following 7, so I think,
But like 7 and 9 both get plenty of love, but 8 for whatever reason gets left out of things. It doesn't even get acknowledged on its 20-year anniversary by Square. What the fuck's up with that shit?
And they did a good amount at Square of like trying to combine, elements of 8 into other titles. Like, I remember Parasite Eve 2, if you did well enough in that game, you could unlock Squall's Gunblade. And use it as a weapon. And it was badass.
I did not know that. Brad, you played Parasite Eve 2?
Yeah, of course.
Was it good?
2?
Yeah.
Are you like just asking me?
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I mean, I think it's nowhere near as good as the first one. I mean, it kind of doesn't have the atmosphere and the
you have to
style
realize
of the first game.
You have to realize that Parasite Eve 2 is basically a Resident Evil clone.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's fine, but
well, that makes me more interested in playing it.
No, but it's not.
Because I always thought Parasite Eve
ways.
2 was like Dino Crisis 2 to Dino Crisis 1.
No.
Okay.
It just sort of changes. I mean, yeah, in that it's very different from the first game. Sure. But I mean, the story sucks. The atmosphere sucks. I mean, compared to the first game, it's like it completely misses the point.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, whatever.
Gotcha.
It's fine. It's a plenty fun game though.
Her thank you goes to, as good of a player as he is, I want to thank Nolan for not paying attention in Prop Hunt to allow me the great satisfaction of eliminating him. Well, Nolan's unfortunately not here to respond to you. But that's good because he would probably right now be chiming in to tell you why you're wrong, why he is the better player. But since he's not here to defend himself,
we can all
acknowledge that you beat Nolan
in a multiplayer game.
Which is something not many of us can say.
Yeah.
It's and her fuck you of the month goes to Brad. That is all. There is no reason behind it. I just wanted to say it.
It's fucked up.
Hey, whatever floats your boat.
Okay.
Rude.
How woo.
And we usually give them a freebie at the end if they want to just throw something in, like a comment or whatever. And she said,
"Just kidding, Brad. You're awesome."
Honestly, I don't have one, but I don't have anything except encouraging words. 4PP has been an integral part of my life when I was really at my lowest. I discovered you guys on JTV when you streamed Fatal Frame. You guys still have something special to offer to this world, and thank you for continuing to stream. This last sentence gets me. It really gets me. I totally get that this is meant to be very nice and and encouraging, but this last sentence really irks me a little bit. I really believe your hard work will pay off eventually.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is it. This is the payoff. This is the hard work paying off right here.
Patreon.com/4Player. Please.
Yeah, our hard work paid off years ago.
Hey, she is supporting us on Patreon. That's why we are reading these responses from her. So next week we'll introduce a new supporter spotlight for the month of March, and we'll be hearing from them. Of course, Illumination, thank you very much for supporting us on Patreon. If you're a supporter, you can support us on Patreon. You can support us on Twitch. Either way, you're entered in you're entered for a chance to become supporter spotlight. So we'll introduce a new one next week on Thursday, and we'll hear from them. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and read some. Let's read some questions. Oh God, they changed their fucking app. All right, we have not too many questions tonight, so that's good. Our first question from our supporters on Patreon, comes from JPress311. It says, "Is Nintendo leaving money on the table by not discounting their titles to the degree of other companies? I find myself either deciding to purchase a Nintendo title at launch or not at all because of this."
That's a good point.
Well, it's been forever since they've done like a greatest hits line.
That's not true. They do it. They've been doing it on the 3DS,
But they didn't do it on the Wii U though, right?
No, they did. They did the selects or whatever. They do it sometimes, but it's usually like years later.
This is also kind of loosely tied maybe to the Resident Evil news. How they announced they're releasing Resident Evil 0 Remake and 4 on the Switch, and they announced the pricing, and it was like, wasn't it like $50 for Resident Evil 4 or something?
Oh,
what?
Not that much. 30, I think.
Is it 30? Are you sure? I thought it was $49.99. I could be wrong. Or maybe that's for all three of them together or something.
Maybe.
There's no way.
I don't know.
I think it's like 30.
It's more than you would maybe expect.
Yeah,
Okay, it's 30.
It should not be 30,
Maybe it's
though.
30 and then 10 for both the other ones? I don't know.
It should not be. No, it's 30 for all of them.
30 for all three of them?
No, 30 each.
Forget that.
That's a
fucked
lot.
up, right?
That's a lot for a game that's been released multiple times.
Of course it's...
It also came out on the Wii for like $20, I think, at launch.
Like, even Square Enix isn't that bad with that pricing.
Just don't do that.
Yeah, it's not cool. But to answer the question about, whether Nintendo is taking risk, the thing is they price their games like,
Square Enix does that too, though. Like, people are like, oh, I'm going to find my not on my Switch, but it's like $21.
It is $21.
What?
But Nintendo, I mean, they have a pretty good idea of their business model and what's working for them, what's not working for them. So to a degree, they may be leaving money on the table by like pricing it in such a way that certain people aren't going to go for it, but they're also pricing it to a point where they can where they believe at least that they're maximizing their sales. They're going to get, I mean, like they wouldn't just make these decisions and let it continue to hurt them. So, and they've been pricing games like this for years. Fucking, I always wanted to play Donkey Kong Returns.
Tropical Freeze.
And the entire time I was working at GameStop, I had my eye on that game, and I was waiting for the price to drop.
Nope.
Never did. Even used copies of that game were like $40.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, when the fuck is that going to drop in price? And it never did. I never bought it, and I never played it.
The one on the Wii? Oh,
yeah. You can probably get it. Now that it's been long enough, you can probably get it. But, they've been doing this for years, so it's not entirely shocking. The thing is, Nintendo also has that brand recognition that maybe, like, for a lot of people who maybe aren't super familiar with, like, gaming and, as a culture, and, like, gaming as just, like, a bigger activity, like, for a lot of people, the word Nintendo is synonymous with video games. So, like, they occupy a huge part of people's minds when they think about
or more
games,
so not just video games, but like quality of video games.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo.
They had the seal of approval for years.
The word Nintendo, regardless of how you feel about the kinds of games they produce, usually indicates quality. Like their games tend to be super polished. But anyways, thank you for the question, JPress. Zero Skies says, what's the most progress you've ever lost in a game? Was it due to a bug, forgetting to save, or something else? Did you drop the game or push forward again?
I've talked about Dark Cloud 2 save.
Ooh, that's
overriding that. After 20 hours of like pure side questing towards the end of that game.
Yeah.
Like pure side questing, like all medals to get like special outfits and stuff. I didn't forgive it.
The first thing that jumps to my mind is a friend of mine accidentally overwrote my Devil May Cry 1 save file, and I was on the last mission, like about to fight the final boss. So I had to start the game.
That game's not that long.
Not that long, though. I mean, that always jumps to my mind because that's like maybe the most like... I've been fairly lucky when it comes to this stuff. I haven't lost progress very many times in my life. That's one of the few times where I was visibly upset. Like, oh my god, what the fuck did you just do?
Yeah, I guess
now I have
if
to
you were
start the whole
hyped,
thing
yeah.
over again.
But like I was saying, I wasn't 20 hours into Dark Cloud 2. I had like a 60-hour save and an 80-hour save. And I killed the 80-hour save.
Oh, so you lost 20 hours.
Yeah, and that 20 hours was pure like grinding out like mini games and stuff. Like it was side questing.
I had a 120-hour Final Fantasy VII save.
Yeah, my original Final Fantasy VII save, I lost. I killed it.
I think I still have mine because I think I still have my memory card.
Yeah.
I had to redo
And that was over 100 hours, I think.
25 hours of progress.
Yeah.
So
I remember exactly.
Fucking chocobo grinding, man.
I remember exactly what happened. I was like pretty far in the game, but I was like, oh, I love this game so much. I'm gonna start from the beginning again and just like fuck around at the beginning. And like, I started a new file and I named Cloud. Never forget this, the Shiznit. And I started playing again from the beginning because I loved it. And I saved over my actual save file.
Oh.
So not only did I have to start that game over, I couldn't even keep going with the one that I started fresh because I named Cloud the Shiznit. So I had to like start that one over too. And it was a bad scene.
Not good.
But, you know, at the same time, I already knew about Eris because I had borrowed a friend from school's memory card because he was a lot further than I was. And he was telling me about, he was in disc 3 and he was like, dude, you get an airship. And I was like, no fucking way. So I borrowed his memory card and I was playing like disc 3 before I even got close to it in my game. It was a mess.
I want to read this one in chat. I think it's pretty good. River Plusa says, Christopher Davis might appreciate this. My dog chewed my controller and managed to turn on my PS4 out of rest mode and delete my 70+ hour Division save. I didn't play it after that.
Division tune, but yeah, I see what.
I'm pretty sure he meant save.
But like, we're in the era of cloud saves. I mean, like,
yeah, like luckily the cool thing is like I thought I deleted something once and like I remembered, oh, everything on my PS4 gets automatically uploaded to the cloud, so I never really lose anything.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I think one thing I'll mention, this is not an accidental, like I intentionally did this. I played about 20 hours of Hollow Knight and then decided I wanted to play it on Switch, so I started over.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. That was a conscious decision on your part.
I technically didn't lose that progress. I could go back and play my PC save for Hollow Knight anytime. But I am now farther in Hollow Knight on the Switch than I was on the PC, and I'm doing it much faster.
This is only somewhat related, but Chris Davis lost a bunch of progress on a Chipotle burrito when Hyde ate it.
Actually, it was a Freebirds burrito. And
Freebirds.
I hope he had terrible farts that night.
Well, of course he did.
He was so upset. And Hyde was just...
So happy. So happy.
But I bet you never left food sitting near the edge of the desk.
No, I didn't.
We got
learned my lesson.
We got a good question.
Can't trust your fucking dog.
We got a good question from the person who's been sending Brad horrible PokePorn.
Oh no,
Mr. Green Toast. That was Mr. Green Toast, right?
Yes.
Says, do you prefer games that change the ending based on 1, a morality system, 2, a branching path system, or 3, a second choice system before a last second choice before the ending? Well,
morality system. And I say morality system because when you do that, you feel, I think, at least in my experience, the games that I play that have these morality choices, I get to feel the impact more immediately of what I'm doing. And then it all builds if it's a good game, it builds and adds together at the end to where I feel like I've accomplished much more.
The problem is like the ending when you use a morality system, like if you're playing the game the way you want to play it, and that just may mean that you're playing it in such a way that you're playing immorally. That usually translates to a quote-unquote bad ending. And in my experience, most bad endings are worse or inferior to the good endings, and I feel kind of
that's the catch-22 part of the morality system, is that you have to play the way the developers want you to play. And
I think that's kind of bullshit. If I had to pick one of these, I'd say a branching path system, because then you start again, if the game's developed in this way, I would imagine if you do a branching path system, you would be building your different endings based on how you choose to move through the world, and you have less of a good, bad, or neutral ending. You just have an ending that makes more sense if you went down path A, or path B, or path C.
Like
they don't necessarily
Quantic Dream game or something.
Like if you choose to go this direction, you end up in a totally different place, and that gives you an ending. Or if you go this way, you meet a different character that you wouldn't have met otherwise, and that affects the ending in that way. It becomes less about whether you're getting a good or a bad ending. It just becomes about what choices you made and how those logically led to a conclusion in the story. I think that makes the most sense. Unfortunately, I don't think you see it very often happen.
You doing
like
Witcher Tales Thronebreaker.
There you go.
A lot of different endings in the way that can play out. It's such a good game.
The worst option he mentioned is easily the third one, because if you play a game a certain way and then your whole ending gets fucked at the very end because you made one split-second decision, that's a terrible way. I
think he's more pitching like the idea of like a Deus Ex ending, where you have like...
That was terrible.
Well, no, I'm not saying that they're good. Yeah. I'm just giving them a example, because all Deus Ex endings have those like very clutch moments at the very end where you decide like the fate of mankind and shit like that by like pressing a button.
Sounds like the end of Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Moving on.
Fuck the Illuminati.
What? Have you seen Jurassic World?
Yes, I have, but like...
That's exactly what you just described.
But that entire ending of that movie is stupid.
Well, yeah, that's...
Because it doesn't fucking matter. It's not going to be a Jurassic World. It's going to be like...
Whoa. First of all, we're not talking about Jurassic World right now. I didn't want to get into it. I was just saying what you just described is exactly the ending of Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Let's move on! Our last question for the night from our Patreon supporters is Shadowstep says, if you had to swap your head hair for body hair, which body hair... Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Why am I not seeing the whole question? I don't think the question... I don't think he ended up leaving an entire question.
Swap your body...
If you had to swap your head hair for body hair, which body hair would you... And then it cuts off. Which body hair would... Do I have to pick one hair?
Well, I'm thinking they're saying like what limb, or what area of body hair would you want to put on your head?
Oh,
Nick, go with your arms. You'd have a nice fillet.
Fuck off! Fuck off! Oh.
You'd have like a little afro.
Oh my god!
He'd be a walking fire hazard.
Well, Brad just answered for me.
I mean, I already pretty much have pubes for hair, so what are you gonna do?
On your head?
Yeah.
That's what you're...
Well, they're more pubis than the average head of hair. I have curly hair, get it?
All right. I get it. All right. Chris Davis, do you have an answer?
No, because how...
Because you don't have hair in your body. Okay.
No.
Just kidding. I don't even
I don't know how you answer this question.
I don't even want to know the answer to this question.
Ask the question again next week and finish the statement.
Or don't ask the question again next week.
No, we have to know about Crispy and Nolan.
We appreciate all questions. But of course, if you are a supporter on Patreon at the $1 tier or higher, you can ask us anything you want. Anything you want, and we'll answer it on the podcast. Even weird-ass questions about swapping our head hair for our pubes or whatever.
Just please don't ask us about PokePorn next week. Please no.
Yes. Kenton, we also accept questions from Twitch supporters. So if you support us on Twitch and you are in our Discord, you can go into the supporters channel and leave us questions. We have a few from Twitch. Kenton says, what is your guys' favorite game that's pretty jank but you love regardless? The disappointment of Anthem made me go back and play Lost Planet 2. Damn, is that game jank, but God, I still love it.
Yakuza really is jank at the end of the day. Alpha Protocol, Nier. Those are some of my favorite.
Nier's a good one.
Good but jank games.
Metro.
Yeah.
Two Worlds 2 is super jank, but I have a
I'm trying to think of like the jankiest game.
serious fondness for that game.
I'm trying to think of like the jankiest game I've ever played, and I can't think of it. I mean,
Two Worlds 2's up there for me. Morrowind is like one of the greatest games of all time, and it's premium jank.
Oh, I know what your ultimate answer is. It's Mountain Blade.
Hey, now be nice to Mountain Blade. That game is swell. It's a little janky.
the game is swell.
Little janky?
But I mean, Morrowind's jankier than Mountain
What
Blade.
is the jankiest game I've ever played?
Stalker? Kind of janky.
I really like Silent Hill Downpour. That game has Eurojank because that game was developed in
Europe.
Well, I'm trying to think of specifically where it was from.
Eastern Europe.
Ukraine, I think. I don't remember. The Czech Republic. I don't know. But
Hitman Blood Money. That's a good
pretty
one.
jank.
I mean, at what point does a game just remain eternally jank versus that was just the game of the time? Like saying like for example,
Blood Money was janky back then.
I was saying like Deus Ex was thrown out in chat. Like Deus Ex was revolutionary.
Like the first Deus
the
Ex?
Original.
The original
That
janky.
was
I mean,
revolutionary.
It was revolutionary, but as a first-person shooter, it was janky. But so was System Shock as well. I mean, those hybrids were janky if you compare them to like other first-person shooters at the time. Left Alive comes out soon, and it looks super jank. The question is it going to be like on the positive end of like lovable jank, or is it just going to be bad?
Oh, I know a lovable jank game.
I think it might just be bad.
You loved Disaster Report.
Yeah. Disaster Report and Raw Danger, those are janky games that are amazing.
All right, our next question from
State
Twitch.
of Decay is a good jank.
There's truth to that.
Thorax says, considering the small hiccup last week, what backup equipment could help out not only in power outages but generally?
You want to get what's called an uninterruptible power supply.
I don't know if he's asking like what. I don't know if he wants to know what would help us specifically or what we just think is good equipment to have in general.
We'll always have surge protectors, no matter what. Get an uninterruptible power supply if you're worried about losing power and like a critical thing happening.
Which he had last week, but it was only on like the router, so we still had internet, even though we didn't have power to anything else.
Yeah, exactly. But I've got 2 of those in my apartment right now, so I highly encourage it.
I hope that answers your question. Okay, I forgot who in chat or in Discord Beckarina Spellman is. There's too many
Gamer Beck.
Okay, that's Gamer Beck. Okay, there's too many Becks and Nils
too many
in
Becks.
Discord now.
Too many Nils.
Favorite card or set of cards from TCGs or card-based video games?
Trading card games.
Oh, trading card. Oh shit! Favorite card or set of cards? Brad, you're probably the one.
All right, I'm sorry. One more time.
Favorite? Are you looking at porn again?
No.
You looking at porn, Brad?
No, I'm looking at Evo stats. Currently, Tekken has more entrants than Street Fighter V. Booyah.
I think he's looking at porn. Favorite card or set of cards from TCGs or card-based video games?
Woo! Well, in Slay the Spire, I think currently my favorite is the Defect, the robot. The first time I beat the game, it was with a nice little ice blizzard deck from the Defect. That was pretty nice. But a favorite of all time from like I guess Magic the Gathering. I mean, I don't know, like favorite deck, favorite mana color maybe. I don't know. I like a good blue black.
I guess I couldn't answer this question
Good blue black
from a triple triad perspective, could I?
All I can say is like because I don't play trading card games or anything like that. All I can say is my favorite card game is probably Triple Triad.
Yeah, I always used to love collecting like the summon cards and making decks out of those.
Oh, dude, getting the character cards.
Character card, like I would play against. I always remember sitting on there's that one place. Was it Fisherman's Horizon? I don't know. There's a place. Is that a place in? in Final Fantasy VIII. Am I remembering that correctly?
I remember something about a
or
fisherman.
Fisherman's Wharf. I don't remember what it was. But there's a dude sitting on the edge of the deck, and I sat there and I played against him for hours trying to get, I want to say, a Zell card or something. I don't remember what it was, but trying to get cards in that game was so fucking fun.
I remember there was this like little kid in the game who was like the ultimate master of Triple Triad.
Yeah.
Like, I remember playing for hours trying to beat him.
The cards in that game was so good. So fucking good.
Oh, shit. Oh, Phantom Dust is totally a deck game.
I guess it's true.
No, not jank, but like a deck build, like a card game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was it, like a Rapid Laser Heat deck? Rapid Laser? Oh, man. That shit would just slay online back in the day.
Illumination is in chat and ready to confirm that, yes, it's called Fisherman's Horizon. Thank you. I'm glad I remembered that. Our last question of the night comes from Tack, a supporter on Twitch. Says, 4PP has developed over the years into a show with its own distinct style, but early on in the podcast life, were there any influences on it? Other podcasts or content creators you guys kind of tried to emulate? Well, I think it's going to vary depending on who you ask. For me, no, because I never listened to podcasts or know anything about podcasts, or I didn't even listen to many talk radio shows or anything like that. It was mostly just born from the fact that I really enjoyed talking about video games. I used to get myself really excited about games by just talking. I spent hours at work with David talking about games. I know Brad had a history of talking with David about games a lot. I don't know if you listened to other shows back then that inspired you, but
other podcasts?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I listened to podcasts back then.
Anything jump out in particular you'd like to name as an inspiration or influence for our show?
For our show?
Good answer.
What did I listen to back then? The Hotspot?
You tell me. Don't ask me.
That was,
The Hotspot.
Yeah, from GameSpot's podcast back then. Hosted by Rich Gallup, featuring a bunch of people from Giant Bomb.
I didn't really start listening to shows until we started doing our own, and I wanted to try and figure out what the fuck I was doing. But I can't remember specifically where I started or who I really started listening to first. I don't know.
I mean, various 1UP podcasts, but...
Oh, 1UP Yours. I listened to 1UP Yours. I think that was probably one of the first shows I listened to pretty religiously back then. And then Giant Bomb, of course, when that was eventually born.
Yeah. 1UP stuff.
As far as when I came on and I started, like doing the live stuff and moving the cameras around and things like that, I was actually really inspired by the 1UP show.
That was like the video show they did, right? Where it was just them,
because it was them just semi-casually talking in a room about a video game with footage interspersed.
Yeah. I used to watch that all the time too. That was good.
It was a great show.
It was a good show.
And then Ziff Davis murdered it.
I missed those days.
I used to watch this YouTuber called PewDiePie, and I was like, I bet I could play a scary game and be scared. Oh, wait. No, that was before PewDiePie. Fuck you, PewDiePie! Racist bitch.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ.
I mean, you're not
That's a dark turn. Oh my god.
He's racist though, right? I mean, that's the narrative right now.
I don't know. You tell me. You apparently follow PewDiePie more than I do.
I mean, every 5 to 6 months, he's saying something fucking stupid.
People in
or
chat
racist.
are saying this is accurate, and I wouldn't be totally surprised.
Sorry.
Anyways, it is time to wrap up the show with the 4-player minute. You know how this goes.
Yeah, I got some stuff.
Go, Brad, go!
Man, this is like a combination of a bunch of 4-player minutes from like the past couple weeks as well.
Look at how good a time we're making tonight, guys.
Woo.
We should just kick one person off the show.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Permanently.
Yeah, so this is kind of I was originally, my hypes were going to be like from the stuff from that Nintendo Direct from like ages ago. Like Astral Chain and like the Zelda remake. I wasn't here to talk about all that stuff. Also, that fucking Hollow Knight Silk Song trailer got me so hyped.
Dude.
Oh my god. That I watched all the stuff from the Nintendo Direct, and then I watched the Hollow Knight stuff, and I was like, fuck all that Nintendo shit. This is the real shit, dude. Oh man, I can't wait. But my real hype my ultimate hype is Julia Chang came out today for Tekken 7. So did Negan from The Walking Dead, but Julia Chang came out today, and that is my lady. Oh man, I'm probably gonna go home and play some.
Oh, we didn't talk. You weren't on the show last week because you left halfway through. We talked about. None of us were still here had anything we could say about Darkest Dungeon 2.
Oh, well, I could play I still have an audio clip from Carlos if you'd like me to play it. That was the original plan.
Let's do that afterwards.
Okay.
Put that in post.
Yeah, in Darkest Dungeon. My sweat is going to be it's for BioWare. In a post Anthem world, I'm a little worried about the future of BioWare.
Yes.
My thank you is going to go to all the people who's been playing Wargroove multiplayer with me. My fuck you is for all the people I've been playing Wargroove multiplayer with me. Take your goddamn turns. And yeah.
Beautiful asynchronous multiplayer.
Also, more sweat. I've been playing too much Slay the Spire, and I've been playing it on my phone as well. It's bad news. I'm a little worried about how much Slay the Spire I've been playing, and I'm a little worried about playing a bunch of Tekken because I don't like who I become when I play a competitive fighting game. Anyways.
Wow. Look at Brad. Keeping it short and sweet today. Chris Davis?
My hype this week is not for the game you expect. I'm actually kind of getting hyped for Sekiro. Because that comes out
Everybody's
in
getting hyped for
just a
Sekiro.
few weeks.
I am so fucking ready about it.
And actually, it's coming out
Coming
in
out
the
at a
middle of my
bad time.
Call of
for
Duty
me.
spring break.
Wait, is that the same day as Devil May Cry?
No, Devil May
No,
Cry
it's
sooner.
a week later.
Okay.
No,
I can get
it's
through
a couple weeks later.
I can get through Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry's towards the beginning of March, which is very soon.
No,
Sekiro's
it's March 15th. for
Devil May Cry?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can get through Devil May Cry in a week.
Oh, that's a bad month for me, guys. Whew.
Wait, is it? Are you sure it's next week?
I think it is. I think it's
Oh,
March
God.
6th. If I remember correctly, it's March fucking 6th. That's next Friday.
God damn, man.
That's exciting.
I got fucking time for that. Yeah, I'm hyped for Sekiro because I started going back and because E3 is coming up, God help us, and so I kind of went back and watched a few different streams as reactions to the conferences, and like I got to the Easy Allies where they were talking about Sekiro and things like that, and I was like, I want to play this video game, man.
It looks cool.
It really does.
That was that was the thing from E3 last year that I'm just super glad that
It's Tenchu Souls.
Crispy and I found our way into, because that would have been tragic if we missed that. Anyways,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's fucking cool. My sweat, I guess, would be that I'm moving this next week. Finally, I'm moving up here, and I'm cutting my commute down to
That sounds like that should be a hype.
It's a hype, but the fact is, I'm moving up here. I'm going to be alone for the first time. I've never not had like a roommate or something like that.
Dude, it's cool.
It's
It's great.
so my roommate moved out this past weekend, and it's kind of weird.
Eerie. You can do
Like,
whatever you
there's
want.
nobody in there. I've got nobody to like bother or talk to.
A
Like,
lot of butt neck and Chris Davis.
nah, because I've got neighbors. I don't want to. They don't need to see that.
They don't.
Nobody needs to see
But
that.
trust me, it's fun.
I don't really have a thank you this week.
Fucked up. That's fucked up.
Like I'm
The
sorry.
least thankful person.
I just don't feel very thankful right now because I'm fucking busy. And my fuck you goes to my current apartment complex because you know why. You know what you're doing to me.
Oh yeah, they do.
Fuck you.
That's because they do it to everybody,
Yeah.
not just you.
What are they doing to you?
Screwing you.
I can tell you later.
Not giving you a deposit back.
I had a very large deposit that I'm not going to get back.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world.
Yeah, I mean,
Of
anytime
moving
you
out
do
of
a
apartments.
deposit, you just assume you're never going to get a better grant.
Never seeing that money again.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, we ready?
Yeah.
My hype this week is for Final Fantasy IX, because I bought that on my Switch, which is why I knew it was $21, like Brad mentioned earlier. I'm
2164
I'm going on a yes. No,
sales tax.
no. It's $21.99
Oh, street
plus tax.
Okay.
$22.
Or no, sorry, it's $20.99. It's like 22 something, I think. I don't remember. Whatever. The point is, it's $20. I don't know. It's one of my favorite games ever, so I'm not super... And I haven't... The thing is, I haven't played Final Fantasy IX in probably well over a decade, and I love that game a lot. I listen to the soundtrack like almost every day. So I'm very excited to dive back into that. I'm not going to start it until after I finish Hollow Knight, which I'm working on pretty feverishly right now. But I have a trip coming up in April. I'm going to be out of town for about a week, and I'm going to not have much access to the internet. So I'm going to be playing a lot on my Switch, which means I'm going to be playing a lot of Final Fantasy IX, and that sounds really relaxing and really fun.
Nick, what you need to do, you need to monitor the Square Enix online store.
Why?
Because they regularly have reprints of classic PS1 games.
Well, I mean... You mean on disc?
Yes, like original PS1 discs.
But
I bought Final Fantasy IX fresh, factory mint, like 3 years ago.
What is the best track in Final Fantasy IX? Go.
Oh my god! That's a fucking...
What's the thing? Hills? Oh god! Why did you put me in the spot?
I haven't played this game in 20 years. I
Wrong.
don't remember.
It's something to protect.
Nah.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm very excited to dive
The
back
answer's
in and play
always
this.
the airship theme.
That's a good one, but that's not my favorite.
Whatever.
Can somebody in chat remind me what the name? It's the overworld theme that plays. And I think it has
Blue Hills or whatever.
Is it Blue Hills?
I don't know, some shit like
no,
that.
Blue Hills is Final Fantasy VIII. Fuck, what am I thinking of?
Hills of
Shit.
the Radiant.
Somebody
Wind.
out there, please tell me what the name of that track is. It's my favorite. I fucking love it. But let's see. My sweat goes to Far Cry New Dawn. Oh, Over the Hill. Thank you, Grab a Beer Gaming. My sweat goes to Far Cry New Dawn. I popped it in the other day as soon as I finished Metro, and realized pretty quickly two things. One, I'm not a big enough fan of shooters these days, so like playing two back-to-back just didn't sound appealing. And two, it is still too soon for another Far Cry game. I think this is the first time as you know, I'm an avid supporter of a Far Cry, but like this is the first time I've felt fatigued within an hour of popping in a game and playing it. It does seem like it does some interesting things. I'll talk about that when I finally decide to actually take the time to play through more of it. But it still at its core feels too much like Far Cry, and I'm not ready to play another shooter. So I hope I get that itch sometime before the end of the year, because the world is beautiful and I do want to explore it. I just don't want to play another shooter. My thank you goes to Hollow Knight for just being itself. That game is fucking... It's a treasure, man. That game is so damn good. I just got to the Coliseum last night. Did a few tries. Finished the first trial, and like the more I play the game, the more I just realize like I don't think I've ever played a game that is more stable and consistent in its quality than Hollow Knight. That game is fucking amazing from top to bottom. So
I think you only need to do the second fight in the Coliseum to get the Pale Ore. What is the upgrade thing? Yeah, for the needle.
Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. That first challenge was really rough. I don't know if I want to do the second.
Something like that.
Oh god, I feel like they're just gonna get like tremendous, like way harder with each tier, but
yeah,
we'll see. And my fuck you of the week goes to whomever decided it was a good idea to give Alien Isolation a sequel that wasn't a proper follow up. Like they're making, like I'm seeing like all these headlines about Alien Isolation getting a digital comic and shit, and it's like, who fucking cares?
Did you
make a fucking game or don't do it at all? This is ridiculous. That game was amazing and it deserves a fucking sequel.
Did you see what IGN is doing?
No.
They're taking all the cinematics from Alien Isolation and they're like making it into
Don't make me throw my phone, Chris Davis.
They're making it into like a series that they're putting on their channels.
It's weird.
Dude, just fucking
they're
my
like
god.
On YouTube.
The fact that they're
the
fact that they're making this digital comic just makes me just reaffirms the fact that we're never going to see a proper follow-up to Alien Isolation, and that's fucking tragic because that is legit one of the best horror games I've ever played. Holy shit. Come on.
Flip side of that though, why are they putting that much effort in now when the only new game they've announced is a fucking mobile title?
Yeah, that mobile title is probably going to be 1,000 times more.
I don't feel like they would put that much effort into marketing just for a mobile title.
I think they will. Because, I don't know.
You could say that Alien Isolation also included its sequel.
Because it was too long? Is that what you're saying? Dude,
it was very long.
I am one of the few people, I guess.
I didn't say you thought it was too long.
That game is... I feel like that game is so damn...
We know. We know.
Don't trigger me, Brad. All right, go ahead. Let's hear...
We're done.
No, you were going to play Carlos's clip about his thoughts
for a
on
second.
Darkest Dungeon 2.
So, Darkest Dungeon 2 got announced, which is great. But some of the details that came out are that it is a sequel. The combat system is going to be largely unchanged, which is great because the core combat system is, honestly, in my opinion, one of the greatest turn-based combat systems of all time. Now, one thing that is going to change, also, it's going to launch in early access, which is a bummer because I really kind of don't want it to. I want it to just come out.
Didn't the first game though?
Yeah, it did, but I didn't really play most of it until
until it got its full release.
Yeah, until it got its full release. So that's a bummer. The other thing though is that they're changing the meta structure of the game, which is kind of a big deal. And this is Carlos's thoughts on it.
Oh.
All right, play it. Make sure it gets close enough to the mic. I hope this comes through.
All right. So they said they're gonna be changing up how the main structure of the game works, and what I'm hoping they do is that they make the entire game, or at least the great majority of it, work kind of like how the Crimson Courtyard area worked in the Crimson Court DLC. In that every time you go into the courtyard to fight a boss, it's randomly generated, of course. But you can't, like, because in the regular game, you go into a dungeon and you can see, like, the layout for the whole dungeon. And you can kind of choose which path you're going to take around it. But in the Crimson Courtyard, you can only see, like, the room you're in and the room that you're going to go in next. Or something like that. I can't remember exactly. So you're, like, revealing more of the dungeon, which is considerably bigger than the ones in the regular game. And you're exploring it, and it just keeps, breaking off into different paths, and sometimes you come across like locked doors and you have to like backtrack and go a different path to find like a treasure chest with a key that then you use to unlock that door, and you just keep doing that until you make it to where the current boss is. And it's hard. I think it's impossible to do it in one attempt, so you kind of like have to choose at which point you're going to back out and like get your heroes rested, get resupplied, and then try again. And next time you try, the part of the level that you explored is going to stay clear. You're going to come back to the part where you exited, and you continue from that point. It feels more like an actual dungeon crawler. And from the teasers, they're showing like a mountain, right? Like, I'm thinking if maybe in the game you have to reach the summit of the mountain, and like maybe you can choose when you want to like set up a camp, and maybe you can go return to your main base and leave supplies in the camp for later for people to, for a new group of heroes to begin the trek to the summit and resupply that camp, something like that. I just think it's a cooler way of doing dungeon crawling. Like a lot of the content that was in the Crimson Court, I would have been very happy to see it implemented into the regular game. That's why I think for people who are thinking about playing this one in expectation of the new one, that they should, get all the DLC and play with the DLC active, because it works alongside the main game. It's not like you have to finish the campaign or you have to get to a certain point in the campaign before you can experience the content of the Crimson Court. You can just access it as a parallel to the regular campaign.
That's it. Everyone thought it was going to be like some sort of joke.
I thought it was going to be a meme.
I was waiting for the punchline, but maybe
he sincerely likes Darkest Dungeon.
I also thought about maybe picking that up for a game to take on my trip and trying that. Is that any good?
You can't handle that stress,
bitch. Do you know how many Dark Souls games I've played?
Yeah, you can't handle the Darkest Dungeon. Stress. But
bitch, now I feel challenged.
Go for it.
My fuck you of the week goes to Brad.
He's the one who fucking said it. I just agreed with
you.
Him.
Confirmed it.
My fuck you goes to everyone else on this couch except me. Bitch, I'm trying Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah, well, as long as you're okay not beating that game, because,
Did you beat it?
no, I don't think Carlos did either.
Wow. Well, now I don't want to play.
I think only George has beaten the game.
I don't know if he did either.
Is that just a game nobody beats?
Well,
know.
you get to the Darkest Dungeon and it becomes like, it's not grindy. It doesn't matter how much you grind. I mean, they cap your level. It's not about grinding. I mean, I have enough. I have maxed out level dudes. I can go into the Darkest Dungeon, but the Darkest Dungeon is so horrifying that I had. Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. All I know is that
It means your dudes don't come back from the Darkest Dungeon.
Cryptogriff in chat says, I can only play 20 minutes at a time when I play Darkest Dungeon these days. Sometimes it's too much. Now I just want to know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
Oh, I mean, it's a great fucking video game.
Maybe I'll try it. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's our show tonight, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you are out there and you have anything you want to say after tonight's show, please, we encourage you to head on over to 4playernetwork.com, leave us a comment on the post for this episode, and we'll read it at the beginning of the next show, which will be, of course, next Thursday night. Crispy will make his return. Nolan will still be out, but we will break back into his home again to record another episode. And in the meantime, join us in Discord at discord.gg/4player. We would appreciate your support on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And of course, you can find all of our podcasts over at 4playernetwork.com. Check out our new Years in Review page. You can watch all of our new top 10 videos from 2018. They're on the site. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Whatever it may be, you can find it out there. Go watch them. We'd love to hear your thoughts on them. And with that, enjoy your weekend, and we will see you guys next week. Good night.
Good night.